Big C. Have a great show, guys. Adios.
Hey guys, welcome to the closing show. It's been a great day on the markets. A lot of volatility, a lot of stuff to the upside. Let's get to it right now. Tesla's been moving. Apple, big tech's been up. Energy's been down. There's been a lot to talk about. Let's see how the markets are doing now. The S&P up 1.86%, actually off its highs. It's off a little bit higher in the day. The Dow only 1.12%, but we've seen the Dow not perform as poorly as some of these other indexes. Definitely the NASDAQ leading the way, 2.5 percentage points to the high side, followed by Toronto, 1.12%. Bitcoin and Ethereum not doing a whole lot today. Guys, this sector board is decidedly green. It's hard to actually discern anything, hard to find what is moving because everything has been very strong. But from what we've been trading today, it's definitely been the big tech, the big cap names, and some of these EVs have been bouncing, guys. We have Neil up at the big board for the trade of the day.
Hello. About that, and you always talk about getting better and better. Everyone wants to be the best, and how you do that is you work on your craft every single day. That's why we do the trade of the day, so that we can review and get better for the next trading session. That's what it's all about here. Always going to start with the higher time frame. Now, I sat down this morning and I remember looking over, and Trader Prad looked at me and said, "You looking at Netflix?" I'm looking at Netflix. 280 break? 280 break's an interesting one. This is what 280 looked like in yesterday's trade. You've had a free fall from 300 the last couple of sessions. You made a big bottom down at about 275 yesterday, made a lower high at 279, setting it up for a 280 break. The problem with that break and why I didn't like it, A, was the pre-market, B, 8:30, we had an economic number coming out. You're going to get wicked in on the economic number. I don't like that at all. Not a lot of liquidity. It's easy to fall into a trap, so I don't take the 80 breakout. What happens next is an explosive move to the upside. It is very easy to get FOMO when you miss out on a $5 and $10 move at the open. But all you can do is calm down. There were other longs that we had out there, but it wasn't the best one out there that we wanted. The next trade was going to be that 290 and then 295. I'm looking for the short, 90, 95, 300. Wait patiently. I'm not trying to short every single pop. Not trying to short here, not trying to short there. I'm waiting for it to take out that 290 level, fail at 291. That's the channel we talked about in the morning show. We enter into the short. We get a quick little scalp for $1. I'm holding out for a move into 287. It never happens. I reload. I'm out when the high of the day breaks. There is no holding it past the top. There is no averaging in past the top. I'm just at a dodge. And then from that point on, all I'm thinking about is next level up. 295 is the next key price level. Last time we flushed, that's pre-market. That's the open, failing 95 a few sessions ago. And then I'm thinking 300. I know there's likely to be, in that kind of an explosive move, a VWAP pullback. It's one of my favorite setups during lunchtime. So I do nothing until we get to 295. And I like this level. I would have liked 300 a heck of a lot more, but we never get to 300. We're loading up in front of 295. We're letting it try to run some stops there. I get half in, then it takes 295, fails 295.50. That's now a failed break. You've trapped longs in front of 295 that are probably longing at the top here. So we like the fact that that happens. We add back in, and then suddenly we've got a full position on. I'm scalping $1. I'm scalping $2, twice actually. And I know Prad was looking at that same exit point. Once it gets to 92, you're looking at that past breakout spot. I'm always going to get the bulk of the position at that past breakout. Why? Because it's a counter trend trade. You've got higher lows all the way up. Explosive move in the market, explosive move in Netflix. Counter trend always takes them out past that last breakout point, but hold on to a piece of that pie. Why? Because the second part of this is if you barcode off VWAP and take this channel down, there's another $5 worth. And you can see I'm sitting on the bid in front of 287. The way I see it now, you're playing with house money. It either breaks this channel down and you get an extra $3 or $4, or it's got to break that channel up. When you are trying to hold for a bigger winner, you have got to widen that stop. Maybe you give up a couple of extra dollars to get that next 3 or 4. That's just the way it works. That's why you've already scalped some out, and then you hold on for more. That's how you can expand your trading. A year ago, hey, 2 years ago, maybe even 6 months ago, I wouldn't still have some on past VWAP. I'd always play to the VWAP or trace. We're all just trying to get better as traders. That's why we do this trade of the day. As always, brought to you by Day Trade the World. Good luck out there.
Yeah, Netflix presenting multiple opportunities to the high side and the downside there, guys. There's the watch list. Sign up. Click the link in the on the screen and in the bio. I use it every day. It's very helpful. It helps you prepare and organize your day, and nothing is as important as having an organized plan heading into the day. All right, guys, let's get into the rundown. First and foremost on the list is Tesla. Yes, again, of course, coming in first. A lot of talk lately about this company basically not being able to meet its delivery growth guidance of 50%, but this article suggesting otherwise. Inside EV coming in with an interesting article here, positing that they actually will meet that goal. Tesla stock today up 6.4%. It was definitely up a lot higher now, off the highs of 123.50. We're back in that 119.5 area. What do we do with this one, guys?
Well, I mean, Tesla is going to be one of those names where you're going to have to pay attention to it. With how often it's in the news, it's going to be an interesting name to watch, obviously. And it's going to provide the volatility as day traders that we need, right? Obviously, in the last little bit, it's been sliding down. Hey, guess what happens when tax selling deadline passes? Some sort of a sideways move into a relief rally. Here we go, upside 6.38% at the moment, and somewhat of a trend line as we now are kind of flirting with the 120. Earlier I was saying about between 121 and 122, there should be some sell side, some resistance that we can work with. But again, the big level that I really want to pay attention to is 130 even. So although 121, 122 is one step of a resistance level, I think the bigger one comes in right here at this yellow zone or this orange zone here, which is going to be 125 going up to 130. So it is trending up. As much as the market has been continuing its grind to the upside, Tesla has slowed down. Yes, it's up 6.4%, but keep in mind, most of this is in the pre-market, because since the open, and I'm going to break this down to you guys at the on the 5 here, since the open, where is Tesla? We are actually down 0.27%. So we've had no upside here in Tesla since the market's open. So all of this 6.5% that it's up now is from the pre-market, and here you go. We roughly open around here, somewhere around here. So it does look like Tesla's struggling, even with the strength in the broad market. Tesla is still struggling to the upside, and you can see it here as they hesitate through the 120. So what I'm looking for is struggle all you want. This just shows me relative weakness. I just want to put a situation where I can find a reason to go short in the futures market, and at the same time, Tesla, I'm going to jump on board because relative weakness is very evident here. Even with today's rally, even with that trend line, they are struggling as much as they should not be struggling as much as they are right now, given everything that's just passed, right? Including the strength of the broad market and the tech market as well, because tech's up 2.6% to the upside, and Tesla, yes, it's up 6, but it's actually down 0.5% since the open. Go figure.
So before I choose, because I want to talk some Tesla too myself, but you might have seen, as I was stepping away from Trade of the Day, I don't know if I walked away before you might have seen it live, but remember I talked about that channel break. I'm going to give it some extra room, give up that $1 or $2 on Netflix. It did trigger me out there. I'm willing to live with that. It is a 5% up stock, right? So if it breaks channel down, are you going to get 87s? I think you're getting 87s if it breaks channel down clean. But we're now creeping back up toward the high. If the market breaks out the top, this has been strong all day, and you could see 93, 94. That's why you have to have a plan of action. Sometimes you don't like it, but you've got to be able to have some rules when you're holding on to a bigger move. I think the same applies for Tesla. I don't think I'm going to say anything different from what you were saying, Arun. You're beneath VWAP. This is a vastly different trade than what we saw. Like, I was long Tesla in the morning, sort of playing off that 118, and I probably got out a little bit early and then tried a couple of scalp trades. I didn't hold on to it all the way up to 123. That's a failure on my part. I took a couple of bucks out of the trade, and that was it. But you're beneath VWAP. You're back rejecting 120. That's relative weakness. Like, what didn't happen in Netflix is happening in Tesla through this 120 area. And I do feel if the market rejects the highs, I just feel like we're shorting Tesla in the afternoon again. It's a broken record, but every afternoon there's a short in Tesla. And until that stops working, you just got to do it.
How many times are we going to talk about this, guys? Energy southbound again. Third day in a row now for WTI. Let's have a look at the chart. Yeah, it's down again, not at the low of days, definitely, but look at that trend down. This is the last few days, and it's been like that the majority of the time. Likewise with nat gas, very similar charts to the two. Obviously, price difference, but very similarly priced charts. Having a look at the actual equities today, not seeing too much red. CVX up 1%, FANG 1.5%. You got ZOM up 1.1%, Oxy up 0.75%, Devon Energy 0.61. So even though oil suffering on the spot market, not so much the equities market.
ZOM, also known as Exxon.
ExxonMobil. Look, man, Sharif can call a stock whatever he pleases, because at this point, he can call Elon Musk, he can call Tesla, because when you're the GOAT, you can say whatever you want around here. We just try to have some fun. I've said stocks differently. Look, I said NIO for years. We talked about this all the time, and it was NIO. You guys corrected us in the chat, and then we all got it right. But I got it wrong on XOM. The level I think I got right, but I was maybe too aggressive in going to the well at 109. We talk about having a reason for your trade, and it was simple for me. It's been rejecting the 50-period moving average on the daily. You had 1 day closing above it, then you rejected it the following day. So I just wanted to be short off the 109. That's on the 50-period. Simple thesis. Oil futures were looking relatively weak, so I thought I had the right one in here. I stopped out early, right away at 9:30. First entry is a quick stop out. Then I'm re-entering the trade. Oh, it's giving me 50 cents. I'm re-entering at 109. Oh, it's giving me 30. It's giving me 40. It's giving me 50 pennies again. Then I do that old thing where you go to the well the third time, pun intended. I go to the well the third time. It stops out tight. I didn't re-enter it, and it gives you that last-ditch effort. Then here's what happened, and this is where I think I got this wrong. Third time to the well, it doesn't work, but puts in another higher low. And then suddenly you're breaking out above this level. You're holding support. Instead of taking the top of that channel, the 109, to the afternoon highs at 109.15 or so, you're just holding the 109 on the bid and then taking out the top. That's a trend reversal. And suddenly you're thinking about like 110, 110.20. I didn't make the reversal on this. I actually was saying I would reverse NIO if that broke 10.25. I didn't want to reverse this one, and that was a missed opportunity for me. So the level was good. The short was working. I just didn't think about the notion that you could take it out to the upside and go for the strength. And we try to learn every single day, and it's not always easy to flip from like a short thesis to a long thesis. All that said, there are times when it does set up and there's enough nuance in the trade where I could have spotted this one. And I think maybe it was paying attention to Netflix, which I don't regret it at all, to be honest with you, but there was definitely a missed opportunity. I think that's part of the cost of trading 4 or 5 things at once, is if you're laser focused on only this, I think maybe I would have sniffed out the reversal into the long, but that's part for the course. That comes with trading multiple stocks at once.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to miss something, and I think that's just part of the game here. It's when you want to trade a lot of names, you're going to miss something. You're not going to capture everything. Obviously, you guys are putting a lot of names in the chart, in the chat, and we're not going to pay attention to every single name because we've got our own list of names that we're going to trade. So we're bound to miss some great opportunities that you guys are putting in the chat. That's your selection of stocks, right? Everyone has a different selection. I think it's just one of those things where it just comes with it's just part of the game. It's the nature of the game to miss some stuff. So you can't really get too upset over missing missing trades or specific names that move well. Crude, on the other hand, we talked about crude earlier today. Sharif mentioned that we were starting the day off down 1%. And whatnot. And at one point, we were down 2.3 or 2.4% to the downside. And I was saying, well, let's get around 77, which would put us into that area low where we kind of bounced off on the 22nd, got close on the 28th yesterday. And then today, this morning, we got underneath 77 and then cracked right back up. Cracked underneath, snapped right back up. I want to see what would happen if we got back underneath 77 or at least 277. Yeah, we made a quick move from about 78.5 all the way down to 77. This is a 60-minute chart, and then we just bounced right back into 78, and then we started going sideways. So crude clearly in a downtrend, obviously, at this point, but at the same time, respecting that 77 with some flexibility, but still respecting that 77. So I would keep an eye on crude. It's starting to compress here. When you have a horizontal bottom and a top that's coming in lower, we're about to crack in one direction or the other, and based on the way it's moving, it could be to the upside. Crude should close most of its volume in about 15 minutes or so and go fully electronic. So as of right now, it does look like crude's starting to make a move to the upside. If they take the 8/2, we might go to 9, and if it gets tricky because I want to say if we get to 8/2, then you get to 9, you get a 9/2, then you get to 9, you go to 79s, then you go to 79/2, 80s. It's tricky upside because of the way it's come down, because there's pretty much levels every 50 cents. So it's better off to get a setup closer to the low than it is to chase after the breakout to the upside because of how dangerous it could be. But crude starting to figure out that it doesn't want to be exactly close to that 77, so starting to make a move to the upside. On the other hand, nat gas, nope, it does not care. That is still trending to the downside, and we were looking at it initially at 460. I wanted to see how they would handle a move back above 460, and now you're not going to see it on the 60-minute chart, but if we did bounce back up, this is when we broke through 460, and I wanted to see, hey, what would we do if we got back above 460 and stalled out? If we really did stall out, that's a great short. Well, the problem was nat gas didn't get back into 460. We got really close. We got 459.6. Keep in mind, nat gas moves in thousands, so there's 10 ticks per penny. And if you're going to put up 460 to 470, you're putting up 100 ticks in risk, including the leverage. That can get really pricey. So you need that risk control situation in nat gas. And I think for me, the fact they didn't get back above 460, I wasn't willing to step back underneath. It's too expensive, so let it go. What has it done since? Well, it's gone down all the way down to close to 240. It's gone down as low as 42 and change, 42.2, and now it's starting to make a move back towards 460. We're still going to keep an eye on this. I definitely would think that there's going to be a trade here, and if you guys aren't trading nat gas, then just go to the ETF, which would be UNG, and it's going to be about doing the same thing here. They might double bottom. If nat gas gets about 470 and UNG double bottoms, that could be a decent long there as well. But keep an eye on these energy names. There's a lot of choices, whether it's crude or nat gas. There's definitely a lot of movement there.
Whether it's because of tax loss harvesting or some other reason, we've definitely had a bounce today in big tech. Not all are created equal, though. There are some that are higher than others. Meta now 4.21% to the high side, near days highs. We've seen relative strength on Meta going back a ways now, whether it's attributed to the TikTok headlines and the TikTok bans or some other reason. Definitely Meta's been strong. Microsoft finding a nice little bounce today off 235 open, coming all the way up to that 241.5. Very close to day's highs again, around that 241 area. This one's up 2 3/4%. Apple, no slouch either, 3.25% now to the high side. Off day's highs though at 130.50. We're trading at 130.12. How do we play these ones going into the afternoon, guys?
We're actually just having a conversation about the ES, and I'll maybe let Arun talk about that for obvious reasons. But I'll say this. My two worst trades today, and one of them was a winner, and the other one was a loser, and that was an Apple, and they were both longs. And I think it's for different reasons, but it's very similar. I had NVIDIA pegged for a dip buy into 142, and I think it was pretty obvious. You can look at why, like 150 breakdown, holds down here around 141, top end of the range 142 in the afternoon, then you're holding 142 pre-market. I didn't favor the breakout for the same reason I didn't take the 280 breakout on Netflix. However, in this case, it comes all the way back at the open and gives you the dip buy at the price that you missed out on. So I was able to get that perfectly, except I go into scalp mode. And this is the problem with scalping. If it's your style, it's your style. But for me, when I get that kind of a failure to break, in a bear market, I'm always thinking, oh, it's going to have trouble at the high. It's not going to be able to extend past 45. Like, get it out in front of 44. Just take your $2 and run. That's what I did. So that was mistake number one. Mistake number two was after that FOMO moment, thinking we're going to have home run city on Apple and then having bad trade structure for Apple, which was going long in the 129 range, trying to give it back to like 129.50 here, which is a horrible stop price because look at where we broke out from on Apple, 128. If anything, that's the only long that I really want. And once I don't have that long, I'm not sure there's a good entry point outside of what I'm trying to catch now, which would be in front of and I'll zoom this out on the 15-minute, in front of previous support levels at 129. If I get that dip buy, this is my 15-minute chart, I'd go ahead and do that. If you can clear out this top here at about 130 and a half, I think there's room to run. But Arun, look at what's happening in the ES. And I'd like maybe, I don't know if you wanted to talk about what's going on with big tech and at these tops. We're in a 10 handle or less range on the S&P 500 futures, which really makes some of these breakouts very tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky to get involved in some of these tech names, especially when these tech names have weights in these indexes, and when the index goes quiet, and these tech names are starting to sit at edges as well. You really don't trust if it just sneaks past the level. Let's just take Meta, for example. T-Trades, this is for you because you asked about Meta, and I was like, oh, let's just go back to this one. This was a range-bound read anyways from this morning. It's like, okay, well, if futures market breaks up, let's just say they cracked through 80, and the futures market did crack through 80, but Meta wasn't going to take 121, which for me would have been the top end of the range here. So anywhere above 119.5 into 121, top end of the range, looking for a potential fade. And then down here, anything south of 116, preferably much lower, it would be all the way down to 112 would be the bottom end of the range. Obviously, the bottom end is much bigger than the top end, just the way it's traded. So as we've been strong, if you're sitting anywhere in between these two zones here, with the top end of the range or the bottom end of the range, you're not doing anything. Once you enter a zone, now I'm starting to look in the direction of, are we going to fail here or are we going to break through it, right? In today's case, with the clear strength you've had in the broad market, it's very hard to justify going short in the top end of the range when the market has yet to actually find a decent sell. So you see the red line here on the left, that's my alert for a 119 break to the downside. If we can get back underneath 119, then I can say, hey, you know what? We're going to play the short off the top end of the range against 121, and then we can go for the short side. Until that happens, I've got no read here, whether it's breaking above or actually failing through. We need either the 121 break with the futures market to core a break as well, or we need the 119 break down with the futures market coming off as well. So I'm trying to time both of these together, but for now, Meta definitely in a sideways action. It's been a much wider range too. If you put it on a daily, I think you can get a much bigger range in place. I have another range intact as well against 125, and that's just a multi-day here. You've got the 125 going into a gap from what is this, back in October, late October. So there's a decent gap here that you can play against as well. So there's two ranges. There's the 121, and then there's going to be the 125 up top above that. And for today's case, 121 break with the futures market above 80, that's trading well. That should open it up at least until 123, 124. But for now, it doesn't look like it seems like we're running out of time to figure out something decent, and I smell something really good. Is that Super Chicken? Oh, Pratt coming through with the Super Chicken there, Sharif.
Even though big tech has been the entire headline today, small cappers have been showing up. Let's face it. There's been plenty. We've got Hoth, we've got Pally, Kala, TJTX, SATX. Let's get into them. Hoth here, starting to make a move, reclaiming VWAP after consolidating for a while and breaking that recent high at that 1030. We're pumping right into that 1070s area. Bit of a double top, guys, at that 1120 on Hoth. This one was a multiple halter this morning. Pally, I mentioned that one during the midday show. This one holding VWAP, possibly setting up for a VWAP hold high of daybreak. We're getting into that power hour time. Volume should be picking up on this one. Otherwise, it's a short candidate. Haven't really been looking too thoroughly at these in order to give you a really thorough opinion. But Kala also likewise reclaiming VWAP here and looking to test possible high of days, even though high of day was made pre-market at that 1977 level, guys. Are you guys looking at some of these small cappers?
So I'm looking at Kala. There's a couple of questions for me to talk about in Neo. I am in Neo shorts, both from earlier, but I also just added to it a little bit recently. I lost on Kala this morning. I had a trade in the pre-market to the long side, just looking for a move to that, for breaking that 20 level. And I've always preferred, I've recently, in the last 6 to 8 months, I preferred going long in consolidations instead of taking top breaks. I just find the risk to reward is better. It ends up breaking the channel down, and I got out of it. Thank goodness, but it's waking up a little bit. Last time it made a move off 15, it got to 17 here, reversed. Made a fresh low, but then came right back up. We're holding above VWAP. There's a chance it could pull a 17 break. So I'm going to lean back into the notion that I prefer consolidation longs, either off 15 or maybe around 16 if it can hold here, as opposed to the 17 break. So that's what I'm looking at for Kala. I am short NEO. If I get Tesla, I'll let you guys know in front of 120. But NEO, we shorted off the top. I should look at a 15-minute chart for you guys. This is what I'm trading off of. This is what I should be showing you. So the 15-minute, the last 3 sessions, lower high off the morning at about 10:30. Yesterday's pre-market high at 10:30. Short in front of 10:30. Now I scalped most of that out to 10. I reloaded it here in front of 10 for the afternoon. So I'm back in this in front of $10. I just got some out at 92s. I'll get some out in the 80s playing toward the low of the day. So there's a bit of a new trade here, shorting it at that 98 in front of the 10 level. Earlier I was going off the high of the day. I don't think, it's weird because I think Luca had a trade in this drop with like a 98 or 980 into the 10 level, maybe the other way around. Maybe he was long and got out there. But I got suckered here where I'm getting 10s and I should have been out at 980 holding for that move. But that's what happens. If you have resting orders, it'll run it over. And if you can't cancel, bye-bye, it just goes and flushes to the bottom. So unfortunately, I didn't get the most out of that morning trade. I'm now back in it looking for said low of the day on NIO.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Kala earlier as well, and you know, this is going to be an ugly one. Yeah, they had my number today. So 18, early on, I was buying up 1860s and change. Didn't like what was going on. We got out around 1825, took a 30-something cent hit. Like, okay, we can reassess, see if there's going to be some stability around 17. Didn't find it. Finally looked at 16. I'm like, you know what? There could be a decent long. And that's for hard messing around because, you know, when Super Chicken rolls around, it's a restaurant that's nearby that does fried chicken. Fries end up on the table, and Neil's all for that, and for hard messes likes to mess around. Anyways, going back to Kala, it was stabilizing around 16. I'm like, you know what? I don't mind 16 against 14, trying to take out 20. What ends up happening? They take out 14, got me out, goes as low as like 1360 or 1354, and now snaps right back up. All right, that's how this game has gone today for me. So we did end up taking the hit, but right at the bottom as we bounce right back through here on Kala. And for the most part, when a market's gone this quiet, you're going to start to, you know, venture into things that could be, I guess, more interesting. And Kala was one of those names that I heard Neil talk about earlier. I'm like, oh, I don't mind the chart. Not an ideal name for me to trade, but I did step into it. I still like the trade. I still like the risk profile. Got taken out at the bottom, and now it's starting to come back into 16.5. The next trade I would say on Kala is going to have to be that 20, right? 20 is very obvious at this point. So let's see if it can actually get back above 20 or even towards 20 to make a play for a breakout. If that happens, maybe I'll jump on board depending on how we break, but otherwise, it's going to be very hard to get involved into names like this that are just, you know, just whipping around quite a bit, even with the market's strength in one direction. Not that they have to move with the market, but it definitely makes things tougher when you don't move with the market.
Harder, tougher, I don't know.
Saw Neil present Netflix as trade of the day, but we're going to have to cover it again. Interesting little news item coming in by way of the news blotter here. Looks like Netflix just purchased a piece of land in New Jersey from the military for $55 million. This is a new studio that they want to build there. They're looking to spend $848 million to develop this 292-acre parcel of land as basically the latest kind of studio with full capabilities. So that's interesting. Where content is king, content is also quite pricey, as you can see, upwards of almost $1 billion just to maintain their advantage. Guys, Netflix now down below 5% on the day. It had been as high as 295, now back into that 290 area, and I believe below VWAP.
I'm kind of curious, like it's, I wonder what they paid Lex Luthor for that, because I know he was buying up land in Hackensack, New Jersey. Obviously, he had some interesting plans for that involve world domination, but that's just how he rolls. But that's a little Superman action for you. I want to talk about Netflix, what we just did. And I don't think, look, if it breaks the channel down, and this is 289, I think you could see 287. The market's holding and barcoding off the top in a 10-handle range, and you're barcoding this range on Netflix. However, Something's happening in a penny stock that I know
Kala's
you guys
gonna
are
halt.
talking about.
Kala's going to hold.
Kala's going to halt. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah.
I flipped to
Yeah.
Mullen,
you.
you've done it again.
Oh, no, it's not going to hold. They're going to break it.
I was going to look for.
Oh, they halted it. Oh, wow. They were about to break it, too.
I was watching Kala this entire time. I get distracted by Mullen, so I don't go long in Kala, and that goes halt to the upside. But okay, now Kala's halted, so we have time to talk about that. We'll get to Mullen first. Don't see anything specifically on it news-wise. That's what Sharif is telling me. Clean technical break at 23.5. And now it's starting to pull back in. We've seen this story before on Mullen. Go to the 15-minute for you guys. What I want to see happen here, because you can always get a bit of an extension in this trade. The last two times it's made moves, this is 25, this is 27. That just died at 27. On a dip, if it can hold 25, start going sideways, that's where I want to see it. Maybe give a little bit of a bounce here off that 25 level. So just went 24.80. I'm going to say it like it's a $24 stock, but when I say 24.80, you guys know what I mean. I mean 24.8 cents. Hopefully that's obvious to everybody, but yep, I got a little bit distracted away from Kala, but this could be worth it. If it can go sideways off here, you might have just had that pullback. And on a penny stock, understand that 25 to 26, that's a 4% move. So if you're not happy getting 25 to 26, then this is not always a trade for everybody. I do like those types of plays. So I started out, for anyone that's tuning in for the first time, like we trade on a prop desk here with Day Trade the World. I've been trading for a few years. I have some gray hairs on me. But when I first became profitable, you know, I spent my first year effectively making money on penny stocks. And I was doing some spread trading on them, getting rebates, also catching gross when they'd make these runs to $1 to regain compliance. And that was part of my game. So I really don't mind trading penny stocks, and if I can get something in 25, I'll go ahead and do that. Kala, this is going to be frustrating. So there's that breakout at 17. I was really trying to get something in the dip buy there, and I missed out. And then a clean break 17 gives you everything you want, and then now you have a halt to the upside. Remember that this rejected 20 in the pre-market twice. So if it gets up there again and rejects it again, I would be looking for a potential short through 20. But this is what we're hoping to see
Earlier.
This is kind of what we're hoping to see at the open when we're long in the pre-market, and it just decides it wants to do it at 2:30. Fair enough. Hopefully it's making up for some lost time here. This is a 2-day runner, by the way. This is not day one. This halted 4 times on the way upside, and we had visions of it doing the same thing off of yesterday's highs. Well, you're back above yesterday's highs, and you're playing higher. Uh-oh, just got triggered, reversed in the CCL here. We're short 8s on CCL, played some back into 790. It just broke the high of the day, so now you're channel up on CCL, and I'm now long CCL, which I want to get back to 8. Gap fill? Yeah, I'd say there's a bit of a gap to be filled. If the market goes, that's only going to help it, but CCL's been strong up 5%. That just happened live. I was trading in, talking about it in the chat during the midday show, but the stop just came in. I'm now reversed off the high of the day.
Well played, Kala. Well played. You got me on that one.
That's so dirty.
Yeah. I mean, this one is like one of those situations where you're like, damn. But like, you got to respect the game. And the game was played extremely well here, taking out 14, flushing stops, and then doing the complete reversal and doing the move that it needed to move. So yeah. So what somebody was asking, what did I see in this to kind of make the read initially? And given that we're done, Netflix, I'm not going to do anything with Netflix anyways. So I'll just talk about Kala and see, or let you guys know. All right, so coming into this 16 area, initially the 18 was my play, but I figured given the way it was trading up at 18, I can get a better price. So I went 16 to 14, and given the way it was trading in 16, it was right through here, where around 10:30-ish, where we were starting to stabilize, so I didn't mind going for the long on the way back down. And this is a 30-minute chart, and then you can see that we actually continued down, went all the way back up to 16 and change, and then continued down again. The second leg, to me, would have been pretty much the end of this kind of move to the upside, at least what I thought anyways. Taking 14, multiple attempts up at 17, and then we already know there's some sell side action at 18. Yeah, turns out, no, cracked through 14 and then snap back up. So for me, 14, I'm looking at this now going, maybe I should have used a lower price, but you can always say that after the fact. But at the time, if I'm working with the information I had at the time, 14 makes perfect sense, right? So 16 to 14 inside of a support zone, knowing that 18 is going to provide resistance, 20 is the breakout point, 14 is this trigger. So I'm risking $2 to get back to the resistance area at 18 and change. And then we may get the break at 20 or not, depending on how it moves. At that point, it doesn't matter, but at least I can get back the risk on the trade, right? So that's where I was looking for. 1, support side action, got it at 16. 2, the space to move up, got it, knowing that 18 was going to be the first resistance level. And then after that, we just kind of lost. We tried, and then we just lost it, and then snapped back up. Oh, there goes Kala. Open again. Let's see, it's at 819. Let's see if it actually gets to 20, because I was thinking, you know, depending on how it opened, this could easily just fail inside of this resistance zone as well, because we're already here. We've been here before, and there was sell-side action heavy. So we'll see if this actually ends up coming back down through these 18 halves, because it looks like it opened around 32. 1832 is where it opened up. So it did open a little bit higher from where it closed, or where it halted, but it is struggling through these 19s. But we've seen this story time and time again where it does nothing for a little bit, dips a little bit, and then all of a sudden you know you're at 20. Yeah. All of a sudden it's at 20, breaking 21. So give it a chance. It might still go through. In this situation, essentially what you have to do is, if you're willing to be long, you have to be willing to let it come back through 17, unfortunately.
Well,
you have to. Otherwise, if you want to see 20, you got to give it back to 17, unfortunately.
Well, the only other trade, and so this is, the only other trade that I would structure is always off the halt prices. It's going to go to 20 right now, but what I would have said is you could look at that halt at 18.25 and then throw an 18 stop on a long in around 18.50 to 19. I usually think that's a valid trade, but you just got to 20 and pulled back here. So what you could see is the opportunity to get that off the halt price. If it holds the previous halt, and trust me when I tell you, that halt and then reopen, it turns into this like temporary like scalpers support level where everyone just has the same stop. And if it's going to run and hold that level, it can be worth it. Now I was shorting, what the heck was that stock this morning? It was Hoth. I was trading this based on the short when it couldn't hold the halt price the upside. So I was like shorting beneath it on Hoth and with a stop at the halt, and that worked a couple of times. This time I'm actually looking the other direction and seeing if I can get something in front of that 20 level. It got to 20 exactly without running any stops up there. Usually when I see that, like it just, you get a chance to run the stops at 20 and then you have the big flush. That didn't actually happen, but I'm gonna see if I can get a scalp long in here, throw a stop at 18, and then see if we can go from there. I prefer the dip buys in positions like this. So I'm gonna lean into that one. Just gonna get my order out. Something else just hit. Oh, give me a break, Mullen. Like I get long Mullen at 25. Calla opens up. I didn't get the Calla long. I do get the Mullen long at 25. It immediately challenges that bottom. Maybe my stop was too tight in there. I needed to consolidate. This is a 3-minute chart, and there's no consolidation. I just kind of got long on the way back in as I was getting orders in Calla. Maybe it needs to go sideways there, but I just gave up a quarter of a cent there, which is like a 1% move. So not happy about it, but I need a consolidation. I didn't jump in. I got in too early. I'll wait for it to go sideways and show some support and then get into it. As I try to get some Calla, I don't know if I'll get this. Like it's already running back above 19. I was just trying to get 1850. We're 1856. I kind of had a random price in there in the 50s. I'm trying to catch that dip, give it to 18. That's risking. It's not risking 56 cents because it will slip you probably at least 15 to 20. So you're risking 70 to 75 pennies. That way, if it goes to 20 and you get some out in front, hey, that's almost 2 to 1, and you'd be playing with some house money in the event that 20 breaks. So I still think this has a chance to go through 20. I just want to get along into 20 as opposed to a break of the high of the day.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting move. The way it's been moving around, obviously there's a lot of names. It's done 14 million shares, and I suspect that 20 even, it flashed for a little bit. I feel like there was about 15 or 20,000 shares there on the offer.
There was an offer there, yeah.
Yeah, there was a decent sized offer, so they probably printed a few hundred shares and then kind of got scared. I think if we went back up to 20 and actually spent some time at 20, they would chew right through that 20, unless it's an iceberg, of course, that's a different story. But if it does get back to 20 on the offer, we'll see it. Maybe we'll see it soon. We were at 20 when I started talking, like 1920, and now we were flashing up to like 1960. So there's a possibility that we see these 20s again. So I see what the size is. Actually, let me do this. What is the size here? I can't even see it. I can't even see the full book. I can't see the full book there. But there was about, at least for the initial flash, I thought about 15 or 20,000 shares. But again, it doesn't take much. On a stock that's done 14 or nearly 15 million shares on the day, with this kind of a spread and this kind of size being put on each level, which is only a couple hundred shares, 15,000 shares is going to, make it pause a little bit here. So as the market makes another attempt at 80, is this going to be the time we break? Okay, now, Kala's been great, entertaining, but futures market, let's go. If we can get above 80, we might be able to set something new. But it looks like we'll be waiting a little bit more as we make another move towards 80. In the meantime, we'll go to Sharif.
After a week to forget for Love, Southwest Airlines now coming out and saying that it expects normal operations on Friday after thousands and thousands of cancellations. Having a look at the stock, it's moving on the news, guys. We're up 4.16% at day's highs.
Well, the way I look at it is if you asked me what my odds of making money on LUV losing money in the last few days in LUV was, it'd be exactly the same thing that Shawn Connery said in Hunt for Red October at their chances of survival. I give it 1 chance in 3. It was an easy short from a structure standpoint for 2 days. And today was the rebound day. I still decided I wanted to short the stock on the pop, and I lost today. It's as simple as that. Now it's in the midst of a breakout, although I don't know that this is really, you see, this is the thing about looking at top breaks. I shorted it, lost. This looks real good for a top break when you look at a 3-minute chart. When you pull up a 15-minute chart, suddenly you say, well, it needs to get through 34 at least to cover through that area. So I can't think about a long in here. Unless, what are you risking to? You could risk back to 30, 33. That's 1-to-1 to 34. I don't love that. You're buying some tops here. The thing about Kala, when you're like, well, will you buy some tops in CALA? This was pointed out by, I want to give credit to who said it on the chat. Crap. Shoot. I apologize because I was just responding to somebody in the chat when they were talking about, I think they were looking at the daily, they were basically looking at Kala and finding resistance up at 22 or something like that. And I was sort of saying, I agree that there is upside past 20 here. And that's why I like that long. If you look at the extension on all of these breaks and how far it's been able to go when it's made these big breaks the last couple of days, I've got to believe that if it takes out that 20 level, you've got to around another 10% into the upside if it can work. So I don't mind buying up here. I prefer not to take the break and buy the dip. It's because I believe there's enough room to make the risk to reward work. If you don't think there's enough room for risk to reward to work, then you don't take that trade. Speaking of things that were in here or trades, kind of a trading show, NEO's continuing to work to the downside. I'm going to move in order because if you start consolidating 2 cents away from my bid, I'm just going to move my bid by 2 cents, get on the bid here in the mid 80s, high 80s, I suppose, take my next leg out. If I can catch it, I'd rather not pay up another penny. And then if it breaks the high, work out a little bit lower here. So I just got Tesla, but NEO's much weaker, holding beneath that 10 level. I think we could see that low of the day. And as a matter of fact, I'll just get on the bid in front of that low of the day in case it happens. I still haven't been filled in Kala in front of 1850 to be able to get that long. I'm being very particular about price. But I did, as the market just got to the top end of the range, the ES anyways, I did just get Tesla in front of this 120 level. So it's gone to 120.25. I got an 84 short here. So if you give that about 40 pennies, that means 1-to-1 is going to be down around 40, 40 to 50 area. That's where I want to take the first leg out, close to that 1-to-1 ratio for the scalp trade. That'll be in this cluster here. Then I get the rest out at that low of the day. If we get an inside day, then I can expect, and we saw this yesterday, we've seen this, how many times you guys watch Shawn and I in the afternoon, and it's like you find a range like this, you pick the direction you like better, you short the top, cover some halfway, and cover some at the bottom. I mean, it's just a million times over, and if the market never gives you a bigger move, well then guess what? This is the only trade you can have. So that's what I'm going to do in Tesla. As quickly as we get short in front of the 120, I'll zoom in so you can see it better. It gives you halfway to 119.50. I'll get more out if it takes out that bottom. There are shorts to be had here. I guess the one long I have is CCL. I think it was Dan in the chat saying he shorts CCL. I'm long. Hey, one of us is gonna make money on that trade. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna give it to $8 here and see if it can continue its break. I do want to talk some meta for you guys because this is one of the bigger beasts of the day. If you watch the morning show, you know I missed my dip buy. That sucks. Netflix missed a dip buy. Meta missed a dip buy, got it in Tesla and got it in Nvidia, these two would have been better. I can admit that. But it's breaking out from 120 here. The problem with catching the long is if the market doesn't take another high, let me just look at the barcode that we have in the S&P 500. I know we talked about that. But if the market doesn't break this out, then what are you going to do? Like, you're kind of messing around with Meta with a lot of risk. If we break down, I think Meta's a great short at 120. If we break long, then any long around here is going to be good to 120. And there goes Kala. I never got that bloody long, and 20's gone. Did you get it?
Nope. I just called it out. I was like, I can't. I just can't get involved in something like this anymore because the risk on this is just
cancels
getting ridiculous.
1850.
Yeah, see, the risk on this is getting ridiculous because you're like, oh, let's go 20 longs, and then what? Where's your stop? 17? That's where I said, hey, you have to give it to 17. If you're going to take a shot towards the 20s and you're sitting at 19.5 or 19 even, you got to see whether it's going to fail up here in the 18s or not. And in this case, it broke right through 20, and 17 would have been the stop. So if I'm going to go for the long break, I would have to take 20 long. Well, you could choose to take 20 long with the 17 stop, $3 risk. I don't want to do it. It's just gotten to a point where I want no part of this anymore. It is just getting to a point where it's just going to get ridiculous. And who knows? By the end of the day, we could be at 30 for all we know.
Hold on a second. Gonna get ridiculous?
Yes.
This stock
now it's going to get ridiculous.
This stock was $3.80 like at the beginning of the week, which isn't to say this is ridiculous. They very legitimately had news here and have a decent catalyst. But at some point, there is going to be a flush on the stock. I just tend to think that I really, like, when it breaks a double top at 20, I'm generally thinking it either has to reject the 20 break or get to 25 before I think about shorting it. I'm pretty sure I had the foresight when I sat down this morning to pay for locates, which are probably a really good value right now, but I think I need to see underneath 20 on a failed break or 25 before I would consider shorting. I guess Dan, I think it was, maybe you're gonna get the win there on CCL because it's down at 802, and I'm watching out of the corner of my eye my 806 long, and it's running into a little bit of trouble up there. I did get another leg out on NEO, as I mentioned, but Tesla was the new position. Still going, I mean, it's still trying to flush a little bit more, but it's holding 119.30, 50, 60 pennies in the money at best. I think we got like 70 cents in the money. I want closer to 119. For the rest of this, I want the bottom of the channel. I mean, unless the futures take out the high, why shouldn't I get the bottom of this channel here? So that's what I'm going to hold out for here on Tesla. Oh, you'll see that I'm in Intel. Yeah, of course I'm short Intel. So I've been short Intel all day long because, quite frankly, I mean, there's the high yesterday. It kind of hasn't broken the high. I did stop out once only to jump back in because it didn't break the high. And it's just been a scalp. I scalped 26.05 to 25.95. When I stopped out on the re-entry, I just jumped right back in here at 16s off this 25. I've only been getting out when it goes 10, 15 pennies in the money. I'm risking 10 cents up top, so I'm kind of letting this fall, which means I should already have a bid out in front of 26, so just go ahead and do that now. Just realized I didn't have another bid down there. So I'm shorting Intel as usual. Apple, people are asking about Apple, at least somebody is. I'm still looking for this. On my 15-minute, this is about 129 here, 129.5. I'm looking for 129.5 if we're going to stay in this channel. I want to be getting that recent bid that we just had at about, what was it, 2 o'clock? No, that was like 1 o'clock actually. I want to get that recent bid, but Apple was my worst read because I had zero patience with Apple this morning, and that was my worst stock. And part of it was maybe some FOMO for getting out of Nvidia and Tesla too early. I'd say a decent part of it was, like, I had just covered 2 great longs, $3, $4 early on the trades, and then I'm thinking Apple's going to go to 135 or whatever the heck I thought in the moment. Got in too early, had to stop it out, and then I ended up making the bottom wick. Like, that's me making the bottom wick on Apple on that morning move. Now I'd like to grab it here. If it stays in this channel, I think 129.5 is valid, but that's a scalp to 130. The market needs to break out to do anything but scalp in the 50-cent range here. I know that's not the answer most people want to hear, but that's kind of what the market's doing right now.
Yeah, and the market doesn't look like it wants to pick up any steam. Usually this is the time when we start to make some moves as we head into the final hour. We're 250, 249 right now, and we're still somewhat quiet. We haven't broken 80. We've gotten close a few times. We haven't gotten too far away from 80. We're just, kind of playing this wide Not even a wide range. I don't want to say wide, but it is definitely this range here from about 80 and change all the way down to maybe mid to high 70s, mid to low 70s, I mean. So it's a tricky situation, and this is one of those situations where you don't have to trade. Like, just because you're sitting at your desk does not mean you have to trade. And I understand, like, this show is a trading show, and that's why you have Shawn and Neil, and Shawn trades quite a bit. I don't trade like that. So my trading board for today has 3 names on it. Kala twice, TGTX, and that accidental, well, not accidental, but that in and out on PDD. That's it. I haven't done a whole lot. Futures markets, nothing. You don't have to trade every single day. You do have to, however, maximize your opportunities when you do get them. Whenever they do roll around, you have to make sure that you take advantage of those opportunities. If they're not there, take a break, do whatever. Somebody said they were gonna go watch paint dry, it's more interesting. Possibly, on a day like today, maybe. But it's just one of those things that you have to come to understand that in trading, you don't have to it's not about making money every single day. It's about making sure that when you get your opportunities, you make your money, and then there's gonna be some times where you're gonna take some hits. And that's part of the business, and you can't be afraid to lose. And I said it last time, it's like, you gotta learn to lose. I should rephrase that. You gotta learn to handle your losses, right? Because it's coming. Regardless of how many winners you have in a row, whatever your streak is, at some point there's a loss coming your way, and you just gotta know how to handle that, because if you can handle that, then you can always just continue on and just keep doing what you do. But currently I haven't done anything because I don't see anything to do. The only thing I can potentially see maybe, and this may be a situation where I won't take it today, but Amazon, maybe 84. Amazon's been, doing decently well. It's put in a nice base around 82. Tried it once at 82.50 a few days ago, came back down, broke through 82, and then here it is back above 83.5 into 84. So it does look like there's a decent support zone right through here on Amazon, and they're starting to respect it. So I think coming on back down towards that area should provide some support to work with. And I'm going to assume Kala's at 21. Of course it is. Thank you.
I'm doing this for you,
22. For who?
No, this is for what you just said. Because, look, in this type of a market, we showed you guys the ES futures. If you don't have a scalp trade inside of the range, which is what I'm doing with NEO and with Tesla in a very defined range, if you're not doing that, then you're either holding something in the money and managing that trade, or you're waiting. And truth be told, for a lot of styles of trade, patiently waiting is part of what you're doing. You're waiting for it to get to a key price area. You're waiting for something to break. You're waiting for a move to define itself. You're waiting for an opportunity to get into Kala. I mean, the stock it's at 22, so It feels like 25 is going to come in. Yeah, Dan McIsaac in the chat saying he's scalping it. I'm regretting the fact that I wasn't willing to pay an extra 30 or 40 cents up to get Kala, I think it is. I wasn't willing to pay up a little more. I was bidding 18.56. Whatever the heck I was, and I wasn't willing to move it up and pay an extra 20 or 30 cents. That looks like a bad decision right now. I mean, it really looks like a bad decision because now you're seeing 22, but you got to live with that. The next trade for me isn't chasing this move. It's not, there's a little bit of FOMO, like I'm feeling it, but you don't want to have that. You're going to feel FOMO. You're not going to look at something like this, have no longs, and not feel FOMO. The question is, are you going to let that rule you and then start forcing a trade in the stock? I'd like to think that I'm not going to do that. The way I look at it is this. When you start trading, you might fall for that 1 out of every 2 times. You get the FOMO, you make a bad trade. You get a little better, then suddenly you fall for FOMO and make a bad trade 1 out of every 5 times you see it. And then eventually you're doing it long enough, and that kind of a thing happens to you like once a month or once every couple of months. It'll happen, but it's not going to happen too often. Like every now and then I'll get DWAC'd, right? Like last year I shorted DWAC 23 times out of revenge. And it happens to you. But then the next time I made that mistake was like 8 months later. It's just, you work past it, and that's why I'm sitting here waiting for 25 for something to happen. We'll see if we can't rinse and repeat some Tesla in the meantime to get my mind off of it. Oh, this 15-minute, yep, I keep trying to get rid of that wick to 220, and we'll get rid of that one. No reloads at 120. It looks like it's only really going to 119.60. So no opportunity for a reload on Tesla just yet. Sharif, what do you got, bud?
Hot market moving stuff, guys. We've seen this before with Ecuador, but now Fiji electing a pro-Bitcoin prime minister that is looking into making that their legal tender. Not really doing much in terms of action on the BTC chart. Still the same thing, but interesting development coming through.
Oh boy, Fiji. Yeah, okay.
Well, I
that's
mean,
a dangerous game to play with. Fiji is also a very small island, so.
It really is. But the thing about it, the thing that's cool about it is, you know, I don't wonder, like, would Jim Carrey, when he was in one of my favorite movies, when he went to Fiji, would he have been able to use that Bitcoin is the real question. Truman Show, for my money, is quite possibly the most it's one of the 5 or 6 most underrated films that I've ever seen. Like, it's, if you think there was a time of Jim Carrey's career when he was still more of a comedian, and that is just straight brilliance. I don't know why I'm talking about this so much and so passionate about it, but I love that damn film. Like, I can watch clips of that any time of the day. You say Fiji, I think Truman Show, and I think the genius that is Jim Carrey. Like, if you think that dude is only a comedian, trust me, you're sort of missing out. He's done some really amazing. Why am I talking about Jim Carrey? I'll get back to the market in a second here. YOLO when FOMO. So I just had that whole rant about don't YOLO, don't get the FOMO. And we get a super chat from YOLO when FOMO. Thank you for the super chat there. I'm hoping you're being ironic because I really don't think you want to do that. I think there are moments when that YOLO trade, and this is dead honesty. There are moments when you're trading and then you see something happen or you see an opportunity and that's like, this is it. It's not my normal, okay, my risk is 20% of my daily net loss, let's just say, and I'm going to keep it within these parameters. There are trades that will set up. I'm willing to risk my full day's risk. I'm willing to try and put a move in that'll be the biggest trade I make in the quarter. I'll remember when Sundial broke $1 for the first time, and that was that kind of a move for me. Like, you'll see it. For Pratt, he's not. I mean, I think he's off at the gym right now. But when he saw when was it GameStop or no, it was DWAC for him. When DWAC made that first squeeze to the upside, it was like there was a YOLO all-in trade because you knew the potential was there. For some people, it was when AMC and APE was going, and you see a setup that's really good. Those are out there for you, but not every single move is a YOLO move. Trust me, if you trade that way, that's an easy way to get busted. We're at 23 on Kala, so a couple of dollars to go here. This channel is now frustrating me because 119 on Tesla looks like it's going to be a bit of a temp bottom. I'm considering whether I should just be taking the 119 out here. I definitely should think about it. Thank you for reminding me about Mullen, Imagineering Mind, and McIsaac saying he has top wick on Sundial. I'll tell you this much. I did really well on Sundial for 2 years, but I made top wick a lot. My worst trade while I was doing the show, well, I actually think it happened at lunch when I was off, but I started the trade when we were on, was shorting Sundial on the way back up to 1. So it broke $1, it was great. And then on the way back up to 1, I'm like, it's not going to break 1. I'm just like short. And then I got stopped out, and it was my worst trade. But I think I was actually shut down on the afternoon show because Sundial had shut me down that day. But at the same time, that was my favorite stock to trade. So I was kind of willing to do it. I stopped out of Mullen. Now it's consolidating past that 25 level. I'll give it another crack here and give it some more room.
Yeah, Kala's, as we had on the run,
it's going to 25.
As we had on the what is that called, the rundown earlier.
How are we not
this
long
morning?
this stock?
Kala stop, won't stop. Yeah, can't stop, won't stop. Well, apparently 25 is next target. I mean, we're sitting at 24. We cracked through 24, and who knows? I mean, like, it's crazy because you look at the chart. This is the weekly chart. I'm like, okay, this is the weekly, by the way. This goes all the way back to 2020 and whatnot, even before then. I need to know if there was a split here of some sort because 720 seems kind of ridiculous. And I don't usually eSignal tends to put something at the bottom that shows split, but they haven't doing it recently, so I don't know if that's the case or not. But anyways, regardless of whether there is a split that's making these prices, I refuse to believe that this thing was at one point worth $740 back in 2020.
No,
I could be wrong. There's got to be a split there somewhere that I'm not seeing, but
that can't be right.
Yeah, that can't be right. But as we move up, even on the weekly, post-split, whatever, by taking out 2150, that is a high from August. So we've already taken out the August highs now. Next up is going to be 30, and 30 is going to be the level that we were struggling with earlier in the year, right? You've got that low going back to mid to late February. Then you have another attempt here around April and change. So although 25 is a big round number, I think 30 is got to be the target at this point. If you are long, you're sitting pretty now, because in terms of resistance, you really don't have anything until 30, at least the way it's moving around. So 21.50 has been cleared, 30 should be next up. At this point, I think you're pretty safe on the long side if you have the long already priced well. So I would keep an eye on this one. Although it's made its moves today, I think, you know, if you can get those 20-cent shorts like you were talking about, if you can pay for shorts and them being 20 cents only, it might be something to, you know, use. Oh, there you go, 1 to 50 reverse split. That makes so much more.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, that makes way more sense.
Excuse me.
So even if you do the math on that, I don't want to do the math on that. Anyways, even with this move to the upside, I think the closer it gets to the 30, the more sense it makes to pay for the shorts, because it's been a major level, right, in the last little bit earlier this year. So I would definitely keep an eye on this. It's got some space, but definitely it's hard to believe that it could maintain this kind of steam, let's just say, when it goes from the afternoon itself. Pretty much we started this around 120, 130, around 14, and then here we are at 24, and in about an hour and a half. Yeah, that's quite the move. Obviously not as crazy as a $3 move, or from $3 all the way back up to 14, 15, but hey, it's been an interesting name, great intraday trade, great FOMO, not FOMO, but like great momentum trades, MOMO, I guess.
MOMO.
Great MOMO trade. For everyone who does that, for everyone who doesn't, I mean, you're sitting here watching it just like I am, going, oh man, where's the next support level so I can trade this?
Okay, but let's see, first off, I think that might have been the 25 short. Like, I think that was probably it. Sometimes, here's the thing, sometimes when you're looking at a level like that, when it's a psychological one, like if 20 breaks and resistance is at 30, the same way I thought Netflix had room to 300, and really it was 90 to 91, and then 300 was the top end there. I still like 95 because it's halfway, and I like that kind of linear math sort of for a turnaround, and it worked on Netflix. But when you look at that 25, sometimes the best trade is when it doesn't get there. Like, it went to 24.50, and there's your 10% pullback right now. So it just happened, and if it goes back up to 25, there's no short there for me anymore. Because if you go to my chart for a second, Liz, thanks, appreciate it. Because it's already happened. This is close enough to 25 that the sellers that were going to pull back off 25 have given you that trade. If it wants to make a fresh high from here, I just feel like I'll be letting it run me over. So as much as that's where I was looking, I don't have that trade, and I'm not going to start chasing it. That was, you know, sometimes you're waiting for a particular price, and I'll be upset with myself for not getting it 18, but I don't mind missing a trade up at 25, because there you have to really get it in when you want to, and you can't worry about, oh, I missed out on the short. Like, the stock is way too strong to be aggressively trying to get a price to the short side. I did get some mulling on that dip. I want to give this one like a little bit more room than last time. We'll see what happens with it. There's other things happening in the market. Netflix just got off the bid here. So it broke channel down, never made it to 87, got to 88.5 or so, and is now creeping back up. So my question becomes, what does it do with that 91 area where I got stopped out or trailed out of my short 95? Does it start rejecting this, or does it even start rejecting 290? Because it's below VWAP, same way Tesla is. Maybe it can start giving you that scalp trade. And if Tesla does this, continues to do this, it might just be 119.60 that's the new short instead of looking for 120. That would mean I have to tighten the stop up and play inside of an even tighter range, which is a bit of a disappointment. I thought we could open things up here a little bit on Tesla. And you're absolutely right, Trader Gorno. I've been talking about Netflix without looking at the daily chart. I apologize for that. We said it this morning, and I think we talked about this yesterday on Netflix. That 291 is the 50 period on the daily. I should have mentioned that's the other reason I like shorts at that particular price in the 290 to 291 range. When I shorted it for the first time today, it was because of that moving average. That's the other reason I had that trail out. That's the reason on the way back up, I would look for a short in front of 291 if it can't break.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do, and to be honest, I don't know if there's anything that I want to do here. As this market has gone quiet, and this goes, since I'm not doing anything in terms of trades, I'll just kind of talk about the charts that I've got here. Hoth.
This one's going again.
Is it really? It's
well,
at
it's
11
trying,
though.
it's trying.
It's trying. I mean, Hoth Hoth is Hoth. It's been bouncing around here. Until it clears, I guess 11, what is that, 1120-ish. Maybe we take a shot at the highs, but this is a much trickier trade than Kala is at the moment. Even with a 10% retracement, 10%, crazy. It won't even bring us back down below 20. So it's a decent move, but at the same time, that doesn't stop us from doing another move towards 25 to maybe even 30 to the upside on Kala. Is my positions right? Yes. Neil, is your position board right?
Yep, they're right.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I just don't have anything, that's all. In terms of, I just want to talk about like how I'm when I talk about charts, I kind of flip through charts fairly quickly. I usually just flip between a big chart and a small chart. So the big chart can easily be a 30-minute or a 60-minute. The reason I use those, I don't really care what the structure looks, I don't care what the prices or the candles look like. I just care about the structure of the chart. So it could be a 30, it could be a 60. I just want to know where the support resistance levels are, where the market doesn't really want to be. And then I'll use the 5-minute to time any sort of entries that I want to work with to fine tune my price points, I guess, right? And you don't see any indicators on this. I know you guys, you and Shawn, you guys use their VWAPs, right?
So the only indicators, we get a lot of questions about what indicators we use. By the way, I got Tesla again at 119.80, so I reloaded that position. Yeah, the position board's right. I reloaded that short. But on the only indicators I use, I have a 3-minute chart, 15-minute chart, and a daily chart. Every now and then I might change my 15 to a 60 or something like that, but mostly a 15. I've got volume and VWAP on my 3-minute chart. My daily chart has the 50-period moving average and the 200-period moving average. Those are both simple. And my 15-minute chart quite literally only has volume. All I'm looking for is support and resistance off my 15 and crazy dark pool wicks, which do that to the chart, which is a bit annoying. But I try to keep things relatively simple. When I started trading, I was a trend line trader. So when I started trading, I actually I started making money on penny stocks. When I started, I kind of was doing momentum like everybody else, and I was trading Oracle and Microsoft. Back then, it was the 4 horsemen. So I was trading those names, and I was drawing trend lines and playing off those, and that was my style of trade. I had some success with it, and then eventually realized when you clutter your charts up, you clutter your mind up. At least I did. That's what worked for me or what didn't work for me. So I started cleaning things up a little bit and just keeping it simple, trading off of key levels. And you got to do what works for you. If you trade off Fibonacci and it works for you, more power to you. If you live and die by MACD or RSI or whatever, I got no issues with any of that. Because truth be told, you're in trading to make money. Like either it's your second career or it's your career. The goal is to make money, and you can't care how you do it. You can say, well, I'm a purist. Everything's about fundamentals or everything's about this strategy. Well, if you make money doing something else as opposed to what you quote unquote believe in, then that's your new belief as a trader, because that's what you're in here to do. You're not in here to try to reinvent the wheel. You're not in here trying to be smarter than the overall market. You're not here trying to create some new trading strategy. If you do, great, fantastic. Do any of those things, I'll tip my cap to you. All you're here to do is find a pattern that works and then repeat it and make money. That's what trading is about. And it might not be the thing that speaks to you when you start trading. That was 100% true for me. I had to be directed towards things that I was better at, and that ended up being a good decision. And that's what everyone has to do here. So that's why we bring you different perspectives. That's why we have Arun on. That's why Shawn and I are different. That's why Brennan's different. That's why Sharif and Luca and Prad are all different. No two traders are the same. And quite frankly, if every trader on this show traded exactly the same way, I don't think you guys would like us very much. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like to add to his point, it's like trading, there's so many ways to make money. Don't get me wrong, a lot of them lose money, but there's so many different approaches, and whatever approach that you take, if you can make it work, then keep it quiet and do your thing. That's how you're going to make money, right? Last thing you want to do is share, I guess, the secrets to a trading system. When I talk about trades, I'm giving you guys not specifics. I'm giving you guys charts, basic analysis, but the pinpoint situations of what I'm looking for, I don't talk about that. Because I know exactly what I'm looking for, but I can generalize it so that I don't give away too much. But at the same time, we do want people to learn, and I think looking at charts and looking at levels and where the market's been and where it doesn't want to be, that's not that hard to figure out. That's also not much of a secret. Support resistance is very obvious in the market. I think as a trading show that's trying to show new traders especially that use certain areas. When you start trading and you don't know what you're looking for, you want some guidance on, hey, maybe I should look at this, right? Well, this is kind of what we're doing here with support resistance, like, oh, we're looking at these levels because they're bouncing, or we've been here before, something like that, right? So however you take that information and make a trading strategy using either indicators, pivot points, Fibonacci sequences, and there's tons of, I have e-signal here, and there's functions called an Andrews pitchfork. I have no clue what that is. These are all.
You made that up.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, this is legit. What it's called? It's called.
Arun, you made that up.
No, man. Let me.
Andrews pitchfork.
Andrews pitchfork is what it's called. I have no clue what this is. Once I get this launched, I'll show you.
Son.
No word of a lie here.
I don't believe you.
Oh, here, I'll bring it to you guys. I don't know how to use it. Maybe you guys do. Apparently, you draw 2 lines and then you extend it, and it does something like this.
What the hell is that?
I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. We don't know because we don't use it, but at some point, someone here has created this approach and this indicator or whatever to make it work. So that's what I'm saying.
So just that here, I'm not trying to be incredulous or anything, but genuinely speaking, I know I can just go to Investopedia, and quite frankly, I probably will do something like that, because suddenly I'm like, I don't believe that's a thing. I see it's a thing. I might actually read up on it just out of pure morbid curiosity. That being said, we have a pretty big community here. And if somebody who's familiar with it so happens to DM me with an explanation as to what Andrew's pitchfork is, I would appreciate it. Don't waste your time. I can read myself, man. I got a train ride that I do that kind of thing with. But Andrew's pitchfork. It's a cool name, I'll give it that much. We got to ring some registers around here. I said, if you're not willing to take a cent move on a 25-cent stock, don't trade it. So I had 25s before, 25 cents on Mullen. I stopped out at the 3/4, risk a quarter. I got it again here, and then I take some on in front of 26. Now, I'm going to take a couple legs out to get out a half and then see if I can play it to the high of the day. Finally, it's going. The cost of trading Kala here, I'm already saying Kala. The cost of trading Mullen was that I did miss out on Kala. This is still holding higher. So I don't think there's a short offer 25. I do believe this might not be done just yet. Because I thought, when we're thinking that 22 was brought up by a trader as well. So you're now holding at this 22, that dip, that's your 10% dip. It's now, as I start talking about it, it already starts going off this 22 level. It always happens. So anyways, this 22 level looks like that gives you an entry point off the lower high where you could risk less than $1 for a potential long. The last time I said that, I didn't get the fill. I feel like I just ran my mouth, and I'm not going to get it either here. But I'm just looking for a way. I actually just bid the wrong price there on Kala. This happens in real time. It's like I meant to bid 22 in the mid 22s, like 22.35. And as I'm sitting there looking at the level 2 and typing my number pad, I actually priced it wrong, but I was fast enough to cancel it. See, I can make keystroke errors, and you saw my order go out live. I'm like, oh, I don't want it up here. Neil, cancel that order, get it back down here in front of 22s. If I miss it, I miss it. I'm kind of willing for that to happen. I just got some more of Mullen out. I'd flip to the stock and do something crazy. I'll hit the arrow up for Mullen. Hopefully it breaks 26 and gets to 27. But I'm trying to get some 22s here on Kala as that stock just keeps on going crazy. I did want to go back over to CCL is just not doing anything. The flip side of this, because I know someone in the chat here is short this off the highs. The flip side of someone being short that watches this and me being long is, yeah, we could both lose because it doesn't go anywhere. That is a very distinct possibility. So I feel like this is doing nothing. Tesla, I was just mentioning, was getting strong. It broke 120. So you take the scalp trade, you reload it, but I'm not getting stubborn holding it past resistance. It breaks resistance somehow. I got greedy. I should have taken it down in front of 119. I kind of said I should, then I didn't do it. Sharif, what's up, pal?
Yeah, Neil, speaking of Tesla, I said it right that time. Coming in with like a whole bunch of tweets all at one time. The biggest one is basically saying they're going to continue to ramp up production at Giga Texas and Giga Berlin, with building more than 3,000 Model Y a week, and basically they've reached 500,000 solar panels and solar roof installations, a whole bunch of other stuff, other tweets here basically talking about what they're going to do and what they've done in 2020. Having a look at the stock, it looks like it's bouncing a little bit. I mean, a nice little move off 120 there into the high 120s, I think. Here we go. Looks like we're getting new recent highs, guys.
You know what the issue with that is?
Oh, my goodness.
You know you're desperate when you dump a boatload of tweets about all the things that you're going to do and after guiding lower with your deliveries.
Stop me out.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Stop me out.
When you're desperate, you got to do whatever you can to, make a move, and it's. We'll see how long this lasts. Is my question to this whole. We're coming to the end of the year. Obviously, this kind of changes the game. Instead of true action, it can become a portfolio thing. So, although that should have all been settled up as of yesterday, we'll see how the Tesla decides to finish out the year. I think 130 would break the trend to the upside. I've been saying this pretty much the entire time. Let's see if this upside trend can continue tomorrow going into next year. So with 130 being there and us being a full day out from closing out the year, I think Tesla making some moves here, trying to get the stock price back to where I guess they think it should be anyways, after a prolonged sell-off here from 180 all the way down close to 100, 105 I guess, close to, as we bounce back up. But Tesla making a move back above 120, like I've been saying it. They've been really struggling here with the market being going. As it's been going up, Tesla has been coming off here a little bit here, and we are we positive on the day now? Yeah, we're positive on the day, yes, but positive since the open. Since the open, I think that's the big thing here. Positive, sure, we're like 6.9% on the day, great. But since the open, we are up whopping 0.15%, meaning we've done absolutely nothing since the open. So all pre-market activity gives us, because of the way it's priced based on yesterday's close, we were priced pretty much down here around the 112 and change. And now, because we opened all the way up here close to 120, we're up 6 or 7% almost. But is that the true move? We have yet to find out if it's got any staying power. So for now, doesn't look like Tesla's really moving a whole lot. It is moving up, back through 120. Let's see if they actually accelerate and take a shot towards the highs. If we can get back towards that 122, 123, I think we can really get going. But for now, it remains to be seen if Tesla is going to continue this move, and does seem relatively weak, at least to what the market's been doing. Now they've got a catalyst to kind of, hey, maybe we can use this to go up a little bit. I mean, showing us some signs, but it's not, I don't know. The market is coming off a little bit, and the market has been, for the most part, sideways, right?
Yeah, so first things first, I did get that long in Cala a little tighter to 22. Like I told you guys I was going to be in the 30s. When I accidentally bid I think I bid like 68 or 70 or something like that and canceled it because that was a keystroke error. But I just got some out in front of 23. I'll take some out in front of 24. But someone in the chat, and I don't know what this name is. So they said Neil, please. So I'm assuming you asked a question before and I missed it. So if you could retype that, and then maybe if I miss it again, somebody let me know. Because a lot of questions are coming out. Someone's asking about IQ. Someone's asking about Ford. The reason I can talk about Ford, and I'll go to IQ, I don't mind. It's just if I haven't looked at a stock, I can pull it up and maybe I see something there. But if I've looked at Ford, I know what Ford's doing today. And we're bouncing off that 11 even area. That's been a monster level. I was shorting off 11 in yesterday's trade. Man, that's a miss for me. That's a swing and a miss, because if you get a breakdown of a level like 11 and it couldn't take out 1090, and I was all over this thing on that 11 short, just all over it yesterday, scalping and trying to get it to break lower. It obviously didn't do that. It was okay, but it gave you like 8 to 10 cents. So that's a hold, wick high, and breaking higher, and even breaking the recent channel of the week, higher than that. So I kind of feel Ford is on the way to 1180 here. I don't know if we get there today, because quite frankly, the futures are still in the same range they've been in for 2 hours, or I don't know. It's longer than that. The ES has been in this range for
about 12 o'clock.
Oh, wow, okay, so 2 hours. It's actually 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's been in the same range. And so it's going to be hard for Ford to get to that 1180, given what we're seeing here. I know it's just not what you want to hear, but I'm not here to lie to you. I'm sorry, I'm not here to lie to you. I don't think we see that move until maybe tomorrow in Ford, but I do believe it's on the way to the upside. It's just that hold at 11 is fantastic. The last few times it's bounced off 11, it's gotten to like 12.50, 13, and then 13.50 has been about a good short. I know it because I recently bought my long term at 11 even, so I'm pretty aware. It went to that price. I held it. I didn't sell anything because it's long term, and then it came all the way back down. Technically, I didn't. So what I actually did is I sold some GM because I hold GM, and I bought Ford at 11 with that money, figuring Ford pays a dividend, and it's like it'll just be a better shift for me. Oh my goodness, Calla. So Calla's coming back in. So I did buy Ford, but really I didn't change my allocation that much. It's just you get the dividend out of Ford. So that was a long-term play I had made. So it wasn't really a fresh position in the traditional sense. But 22 just gave me 23.40, I think I just got. So thank you very much, Calla. After getting slapped in the face in the pre-market on this stock, after not getting it at 18.50, after not taking the 20 break, hey, we finally got the price that we wanted. And now what I can do with this is instead of being long on a top break if it takes out 25, now if it breaks 25, I'm just holding a 22 long. So I can give this back to a 21.50, risking $1, and if it breaks 25, I can hold for the moonshot to 30. And what I've found is, and by the way, shout out to Luca, because Luca's been preaching this for, you guys have seen Luca on the show for, I mean, how long has he been doing this on the midday? Like a few weeks?
Been a while.
Yeah, so it hasn't been that long, but he's been talking about the fade into a parabolic mover by getting the consolidation long into it as opposed to always taking the breakout high. He's been preaching this on the floor for a long time. Generally speaking, I've been favoring shorts, and when I miss the short, I don't bother trying this long because I'm only thinking about the next short. So I've adjusted and trying to find these longs that I keep missing out on hunting for shorts. If it breaks 25, I think we get moonshot. I'm just gonna adjust my stop to the new amount of shares because imagine if I was talking, didn't adjust the stop in real time here, and then all of a sudden, it runs the stop on me. I don't get my fill because I didn't readjust the order, which has happened because we yap away all the time. But now I'm kind of poised for the bigger move here on Calla. Neo, not really doing a heck of a lot. I'm going to go back over to Intel because I want to manage that. Hit enter twice. Intel back at the high of the day. I don't think I want to. Do I want to add to this? It's not doing anything, man. Like I keep shorting it. Scalp out, gets to VWAP. Short it. Like I might be able to get 5 or 10 cents, but I don't think we're moving enough. I'm not going to fight this one on Intel. I'll stick with NIO. Maybe I can work that off 10. It's coming back into 10 on Neo. And I just feel that might be an easier trade to just short it off the $10 level. Look at that. My bid was at 83. There was a wick to 83. That's a problem with passive bidding. If I'm watching it more closely, I just punch 84 or punch 85. But that'll happen to you. I'm going to offer Neo instead of reloading on Intel.
I'm still going through the chat, and I was just looking at potential questions I can answer. And Bradley always comes through with some questions that are very helpful to a lot of people. Asking about, do I set dollar targets for the month or the year, and how does this affect you if you're not meeting your target? And Neil's over there shaking his head, and for me, no, there's no dollar targets. The only target I have, and this is all I focus on, the dollar aspect of it. I mean, obviously, it affects your life, but at the same time, it affects your trading not in a positive way. So I focus on executing my plan. My job is to come in, see what I see on the screen, and execute my plan. At the end of the week, if I've executed what I needed to do, which is, I have obviously a specific trading strategy. If I've done the right trades, I've taken the long where I should have, gotten out where I should have, taken the hits where I should have. As long as I have done that, and I've done that throughout the entire week, that week's been a plus for me. Right, that regardless of what the dollar value on that is going to be. But I also know that if I execute my plan, my plan has a positive expectancy, then I should be positive as well. The dollar value depends on the market, right? Because that week could be a quiet week. That week could be a situation where we have CPI, jobless claims, and the Fed. That could bring a lot of volatility. So I may have a bunch of reads, bunch of trades that worked out well, or something like that. So it varies from week to week what the I guess the outcome will be, but at the same time, as long as I did what I needed to do on that week, then I'm following what my expectancy should be in terms of my trading plan, right? That keeps you focused, I believe at least, keeps you focused on just executing and slowly working yourself to a point where you're getting better and better, instead of worrying about the dollars. Oh, I made this much, or I made that much, or I had a great day, and then coming back tomorrow feeling all great, and then you blow it all up. Like, that just keeps you away from that by focusing on what your plan needs to be.
You know what I haven't said in a while? So if you've been watching long enough, then I've probably told you some stories about Arun. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I put this in the chat, but I'll say it to everybody in case you're not in the chat. So as a risk manager on the floor for years, you talk to individual traders that you're risk managing, on a daily basis. There are traders that I would probably talk to them 5-6 times a day. There are traders that you might talk to them once a week or a couple of times a week. Arun and I would have a chat quarterly. Quarterly. And I'd basically just sit there and listen to he just tell me how it went, how he was adjusting his plan. I'd nod my head a few times. Maybe once a year I'd have something intelligent to say about it, and then that would be it. That's literally the only trader I've ever witnessed where that was the case. Usually people require a little bit more, what's the word, like not management, but coaching or along those lines. And Arun was just unique. Arun also, when he came to Shawn and I on our trading floor, he told us he wanted to trade futures. We're like, no one's ever made money at this firm doing that, which was true at the time. And he outlined what his plan was going to be and that he was willing to trade in sim mode until he was ready to go. I'm like, okay, well, it's not going to cost us anything except for the seat. He then traded in sim mode for 8 months before he put a live trade. And I hope you don't mind me saying this. I won't say the actual number. But here's what I will say about the first trade he made. 8 months in sim, that once he was ready to go live, the first trade was the biggest trade on the floor that we had seen that month, easily. And that's the level of dedication sometimes that is required if it's going to be your style. And he trades his style to a T, and it's about time, oh, now it's going to fail the break. Kala goes through 25, and this is the difference. If I was long a 25 break right now, I'd be scared. Oh my goodness, is it rejecting this breakout? Do I have to get wiggled out? Where is my stop going to be? What do you do with a 25 long here? Your risk to 22, $3. But if you're long the consolidation, my risk is to 21.50. If it moves from here, I got eyes on 30, and it can fail this break, and I'm not losing the trade. That's the value of getting a good price, especially on a parabolic mover. You've got to be willing to miss the trade to make the trade, because 25 long is a really hard trade to make. I don't care who you are. That is a very difficult long to have. I've done it myself, and it's a really tricky thing to do. So hopefully this one goes. We'll see. I'm playing with a little bit of house money on this stock. Mullen's going great. It just broke 26. I'm looking for 27 here. You guys know I mean 27 cents. So we'll see if that one can continue. And I said this to Trader Prad, and now I'm like disappointed because whoops. Did I just offer 2,700? Oh,
Call's gone through 25?
So what's hilarious about it is if you can throw an order out, if you have enough buying power, it's going to accept the order.
Yeah.
So instead of typing my offer at 27 cents, or I just typed it at 2,700, and it threw the order out there.
Oh.
So, it
Wait,
happens
the limit
on live
order?
TV. What'll happen is I'll be talking to you guys, and I'll be typing on my pad here, and then sometimes you'll make a keystroke error. That's how you know it's real. And you guys saw that bloody order go out there at 2,700. And if I do that the other way, I'm punching out of the stock, obviously. But it didn't happen. So we're still going to the upside here on Mullen. But what I was going to sort of say is, I'm now hungry. I had 5 of those super chicken fries that Prad gave, and they were the worst super chicken fries they've ever done.
Super chicken,
So,
you're losing your way.
No, here's the thing. I'm going to give them a bit of a pass because I feel like, and this has been true for a lot of places, with inflation the way it is, Kala's at $27, by the way.
Damn.
I'm going to tighten my stop up to 25 even, every 10% on the way back. But with inflation the way that it is, some places have had to cut back on things like seasoning. And so I feel like they seasoned it less, and they weren't as good.
I don't know if there was any seasoning on it, though. That looked kind of weak.
What happened to the position board?
Yeah, Fahad. What happened to the position board?
Who do?
The position board, Fahad. Fahad,
I'll take a fill.
Yeah,
Hang on.
You know when you were talking about being in sim for 8 months or whatever? Fahad's like, I can do it in 4 hours. So that's the kind
Did
of,
he say that?
It's on my screen. That's what he messaged me afterwards.
Oh, the other thing I should have said is not everybody at Day Trade the World has a different path. There are traders that are in simulation for a month or two. There are traders who are in simulation for half a year. There are traders that graduate in a month. There are traders that graduate in 2 years. I don't know that it's any tell on what their success will be because everybody's different. I'm now moving my stop up to 26. This is getting a bit parabolic, and the shorter in me is telling me that it's getting a little bit overextended. So if I can lock in about $3.5 to $4 on this trade, that'll be good enough. I'm 100% out if it gets to 30, and I'm out before it gets to 30. I just feel like that's going to be
30's
too
a
far.
target, man.
30's definitely a target.
definitely
We
a
showed
target.
that on the daily chart,
Yeah.
and I understand that. But if it never makes it to 30, I just want to keep trailing it out higher and higher. I'm being told to take a fill, so I'll go ahead and do that. Is the position board fixed? Now there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, so I just took a fill, not in call. I don't want to punch out of the stock. And I would never go long here. If you're long from earlier today, or heck, if you're long from a couple of days ago, you've got to understand how far this is going, and taking profit is a thing. This is very exciting to see moves like this, and we love them, and you can get a great long, but you want to lock in profit. You don't make a dime if you don't sell. That's the truth. And stocks like this can halt downside in a dime, open back up, and then halt down again, and suddenly you're back at 23. That's why I keep moving my trail. I'm now moving my trail to 27. Every time it goes $1, I move my trail $1 and then hold on for dear life.
Hold on for dear life. In this kind of a stock, that's all you can really do because you don't even know where the proper stops are going to be, right? Is it going to be 23? You don't know. Is it going to be 21? Who knows? 20 was a resistance level from earlier. So the best you can do, and I hate doing this, but in this situation you kind of have to, is use a price stop.
Trailing stop.
A trailing stop. A trailing stop that's just incremental. Yeah, I like to use levels, but it's very hard to define a very good level.
It's going to a halt. I'm out. So basically what happened there, I hate to interrupt Arun, but it got to a halt band, showed up on the bid. It was 28.67. 28.67 I saw was the highest price to get to. It started going into a halt. From that point, it's got 15 seconds to either come down or halt. If I see that and it's anywhere near my take profit, get out, get out, get out. We talk about this time and time again. It resists a halt. That's a bit of a top. I'm not short it. But remember, I had to take profit in front of 30, so when I punched out of the stock, it'll code it as a short. I wish I could tell you I was short here, but that looks like it's a bit of a top. It was a failed halt. It got to the band, rejected it. That's always going to be an out for me. Looks like we got a nice clean. I ended up getting, no, I would have got whatever the bid was. So the bid was at 28.67. Like that was the actual top because it's in the halt band. So while it was in that halt state, it had 15 seconds. You can get out on the bid, it just can't print any higher.
I was almost going to say, when you're like, it's going to halt, I was like, wait until it halts and throw it into the mock. Or the market on open, or the limit on open.
The second it showed me that it might not halt, I'm out. Because I don't mind, it's close enough to 30 anyways.
Fair.
I'm getting something from Sharif.
Yeah, guys, Amazon and Meta now at days highs. Amazon at least was a laggard earlier. Meta's been strong, 3.18% now to the high side as Amazon makes days high. Likewise with Meta, 4.5 essentially at days high, guys. So I just wanted to alert you to that in case there were any trades to be had.
Yeah, that's nuts. Kala has been quite the ride, and this ride is not done. Now, obviously, today, that's not the chart I want to show you guys. Let's go to the other chart here. Kala, on this chart, obviously we talked about the daily and how the 30 is going to make a big difference. Now, we started this day a couple days ago, actually, at 4. And then we got the move yesterday all the way from 4 to 17. Impressive, I guess. And then from the low to high, we've doubled up once again now from 14, and we're now above 29, and 30 is going to be a big resistance level. And let's just say, and let's just kind of put this in perspective, 30 is a big resistance level from the weeklies going back to earlier in the year, right? If we get above 30 and we do not gap back down in the aftermarket and in the pre-market tomorrow, that technically means 30 is now going to act as support from above. So let's just see how this closes out. We could flush all the way. We're going to work 30 right now. If we could flush through 30, come back in, and then in the aftermarket, we kind of fall apart here. But I think if we can run into the end of the day with strength, then there's going to be a decent chance that 30 is going to act as support coming into tomorrow. So we'll see. They touched 30 and they backed off $1.50 already. We'll see if this is done or not. But definitely 30 is going to be the inflection point on whether this trend or this move up is over, or we're actually going to keep on going and use that as a secondary leg up.
You know what they usually, this is the thing, what usually happens at a level like that is it breaks the level, runs the stops everybody out that has those shorts in front of 30, and then it falls. This time it just goes right to 30 on a dime and pulls back. So I don't have the short here. I did pay for locates, but I don't have it because I was looking for it to break 30, sort of run a bunch of stops at that point. There's less people short the stock, which means on the way back down, there's less day traders bidding it, right? So when a bunch of people are short into 30, as it pulls back $1, pulls back $2, you have a bunch of profit takers. If all those people get their stops run at 30, and then you get on the way back down, they're not in there. They're already out. They've been stopped out. Suddenly there's less resistance to that move, and I always prefer that setup. It's about trapping one direction or the other. I'm going to be a little bit, it's not cagey about it, but when I found out that there was someone on the other side of CCL here. So it broke that 805. It just got to 10s now. I'm now starting to get out of it once it got to 10. I'm looking for 10 to 15, 10 to 20. And then if we get to the high of the day and the market doesn't go any higher, I'll probably only get 15s or 20s. If we do break out, I think there's a chance to get a bit more. But I had to short off this same level earlier. Once it held that higher low and then broke the top, that was a reversal. I said I would reverse it. That was one of the trades I did like for a reversal. I like NEO if it got through the high of the day. It never did. So I am long in it. Hopefully, you know, I had the short. I just decided it wasn't worth the reload there. But this has broken the channel. And this is what you have to be able to accept. This has been giving you one of the best range trades on the week. Clean bottom at 750, you're in front of it. Clean top in front of 8. Well, it's broken now. And that means you have to at least be willing to either get out of the short or work the long. And getting too stubborn about it's where you get into trouble. If you just start averaging into it, we've all been there, then you can start losing. But I'm starting to cover this. There's only 15 minutes to imbalances, and the position board's gone again.
Yeah, at this point, it doesn't even matter, really. Kala was the big exciting name, and that one you're out of now. Oh,
Okay.
There we go.
No, it's back.
We've got it back. So as it comes back in, clearing up what Neil means by pay for locates or paying for locates is, for us, we have a free pool of shares, right? And every name, we have a certain number of shares assigned to us from the broker. That means we can dip into that pool, take the shares out, you know, short them, whatever. If we ever run out, or if there's no shares available in that free pool, that means we can go to the broker and say, we'll pay you for it, right? How much? They determine the price. They come back saying, we want this much. And then this is all done electronically, so we can, or your managers, if you guys are from firms, from other offices, as managers, they can go in and request certain shares, and there goes 30 on Kala.
Oh, wow.
They can go into the system and request shares. There's amount of shares, they'll come back with the price, you say okay, then it's instantly charged to your account, and then you get the shares, right? So that is for the day, you've paid a certain amount, and you're assigned those shares. That means you can short, you know, X amount of shares for the entire day. You can, you know, short them, buy them back, and then short them again. So if you pay for 5,000 shares, you've got 5,000 shares assigned to you, and you've already paid a certain amount to get those shares. So that's what we mean by pay for locates. So if you run out of shares in your free pool, then you can go to the broker and pay for them. And I believe that's going to be very similar to what happens in retail brokerages as well. You can request shares if they don't have it in the pool. I suspect that's how it operates. If someone else knows more about how it works on the retail side of things, then go ahead and put that in the chat. But I suspect that's how it is. Yeah.
So I did pay for locates on this stock. And by the way, if you don't like the science that Arun is dropping for you there, then hopefully you like the price action. Because Kala, I was just talking, the position board's wrong again. Okay, it's a bit frustrating. So Kala did exactly what I was looking for, which was instead of getting to 30 and then making that pullback, I was looking for it to run the stops at 30, got to 30.49, doesn't get 50s, then shorted on the way back in. That's $29.90. I was just able to get $1.25, and then suddenly I can do the same thing we did before, holding back into 25. This would be pretty sweet if it could go, you know, kind of like top to bottom, top to bottom. It never works out that way. Truth be told,
that's a sick short.
This stock is so strong. Short. There's a decent chance it runs over, but this is why you scalp some out. There's a decent chance it runs over, and then you're at 35. But if that is the top, I'm thinking 25, out in front of 25 for the rest of this, and a halt to the downside. So if it goes into a halt, I cancel bid and hold through the halt. If it bounces off the band and holds 25, then I'm going to get out in front of 25. So if it does a structured move down, I'm out in front of 25. If it absolutely flushes into a halt, I'm canceling and then trying to get even further than this. But we just said, sometimes you run stops, there's less resistance to the move, and you get a bigger flush. That's what I'm counting on here. The long was great, on to the next. The next is going to be that short. I'm in it. I'm giving it to the high of the day. You want to know where my stop is? The high of the day is 30.49. If it breaks 50, I'm out like that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. High of the day stop is the way I will always play this. And there it goes right into the downside on Kala. Is it going to halt? Is it going to halt? Ooh, no. Resist the band there. I'm going to cancel my bid. I was sitting 25.77, and I'm going to give it some room to flush here. Because if it halts down, I think I got gold. I can probably trail this at like 27.5 once it gets through 26.
That's a sick trade. And the reason I say that too is, one, 30 broke. We know 30 was a big level, that quick flush. Second, you're getting into the end of the day, which a lot of intraday players are playing on the long side, right? Everyone who wants to participate, who wants to short in front of, I saw it in the chat too, who wants to short Kala today? Well, clearly nobody did, right? So if no one's shorting it and nobody wants to short and this thing wants to keep going up, at some point, people are going to take profit on a day where it's doubled up. Right? So as you got to factor that into the equation as well as we get to the end of the day, it makes perfect sense, a failed 30 break with the move back down, especially if you get a downside halt too, as a lot of people try to go for the door, for the exit door. I think we could end up easily at 22, 23, pretty much where we were stalling right here before we were moving back up, right? Is that bound to happen? We don't know. That remains to be seen. For all we know, this could be the sell, and they could take a secondary run back up towards 30. But at this point, especially with your price, you're risking, what, 60 cents? Maybe with slippage, maybe a dollar to see the trade?
There's something to be said here. When you take that trade, you better be willing to make the wick high. Like, there's nothing more embarrassing than you got out a long at the bottom, you got out a short at the high of the day. But if you're trading a stock up 120% and you're shorting it at the top, if you're not willing to make the top wick and be embarrassed, then that means you're probably willing to have the stock go to 35 and ruin your entire month. So what would you rather have happen to you? Would you rather try to be dead right, not be embarrassed by making top wick and ruin your month out of stubbornness, or would you rather just make the top wick and manage your risk? So it never broke that 26 level. This is breaking 26 and that next channel down. That's when I would have put a trailing stop and held for the halt. I'm now bidding for 23. I'm just going to let it go, because you made a valid point. Like, 30 was that level on the daily chart. If it's going to fail here, it's also 340, by the way. It's the time of day. That's the other factor here. If it is going to flush going into the close, I think we can see past 25 or get a halt to the downside. There is one caveat. If it halts within the last 10 minutes of the session, then it doesn't open up in 5 minutes. It actually opens up at 4 o'clock. So if you are trading this, just be wary of that. You will be, if you hold it and don't get out on the reopen, then you're holding into the pre-market. And that's if it halts in the last 10 minutes. The early mock is telling us an imbalance of 267 million to the buy side. So I don't think the market, that's not necessarily going to move the market out of the channel that we're in here. So my focus is going to be on Kala at this point. Quite frankly, when you're trading a stock like this actively, it should be your focus. You don't necessarily want to be too much multitasking. You saw me get stopped out of Intel. I'm probably neglecting Mullen too much. That's still at 26, doesn't want to break it. Maybe I just get Mullen out in front of 26, 25 to like 25.8. It looks like the best it's going to do here on Mullen.
What's going on with this position board? It's off again. We'll figure it out for tomorrow, but Neil is in a few, and I know, Neil, you were in Netflix earlier, and Netflix has bounced, I guess, cracked underneath.
It's back again. So.
Yeah, it broke back above 292 now. This is good for a long. If you're thinking long on Netflix, this could be coming fairly soon here. If you haven't captured it already, this was a hard trade this morning, right? With the market the way it was trading, and Netflix taking off straight from the open, it was hard to capture, right? But now, after it's gone sideways a little bit, it's gone as high as 295, 296, 295 and change. It's come back underneath 290, now found a nice little bounce again. We're starting to develop new levels to work with. So I would definitely keep an eye on Netflix around this 285 mark. There should be some action to work with if we were to come back in through here to the buy side. And of course, 300 is a big level, right? 300 on the upside is been a problem, to say the least. Going back a few days here, ever since that move from above 300 that cracked us underneath, we've been struggling at 300 ever since. So I think if we were to get back up there, we're probably going to see some increased activity. With us being at 290, and given that Netflix can put in a $10 move very quickly, who knows? By tomorrow morning's open, we could be sitting somewhere around 298 into 300, and we may have a decision to make whether it's going to be a long break through 300 or a topping out situation while I remove this zone. A topping out situation near this high, which the high is about 302, but I mean 300 going into 302 with a little bit of flexibility is what you got to keep an eye on. Netflix looking fairly strong here, putting in some decent action. Let's see if this continues going into tomorrow.
So there's another one here, and by the way, like the issue with the position board, I everyone's joking around saying, "Yeah, Fahad, what's going on?" Trust me, it's not Fahad. So there's literally an API that was written to be able to pull our positions from the blotter in real time, like we call it's a blotter in P Pro 8, and then be able to display it here. So there's obviously some kind of an issue. The team is working on it. To reset it, basically we just have to take a fill. So it's a little bit frustrating. So what'll happen is you just didn't see it, and then NEO broke 10, and whoops, that's a daily chart. Whoops. NEO broke, I got out of NIO, and then that activated the position board again. But I wanted to talk about Summit, SMMT, because a lot of people were talking about that. And now that I'm letting Kala ride at this point. So Summit's up 11%. I want to double check, and I don't know if Sharif, if he's too busy. I don't really know what's happening with it today. SMMT, just as we're talking about time, because it's about to take out the top here on the daily chart and starting to really go. And it's been a very gentle grind to the upside, as much as you can call 350 to 550 in a week a gentle grind. That's what I would describe this. So there's room for it to start to get parabolic. I know we're getting late in the week, less liquidity, bigger moves at times. Maybe that's what we're seeing, but I'm blind on this one. Like, I don't really know what's going on with Kala. I knew the news. We were covering it for 2 days in a row. It was on the watch list, all that good stuff. I'm a bit blind here with Summit, other than to tell you that it's making a breakout, actually a series of breakouts on the daily chart, consolidating higher after making a dollar break. So I don't really know the story. Apologies there, but it is at that high on the daily. Could reject that price. That's a 550. Until you clean through and hold a bit above, that's no different from that 20 level on Kala. Like, if you remember Kala, like when it tried to get through 20, like it had all kinds of trouble. The double top at 20 had initial rejection. The 25 had initial rejection. Summit would be exactly the same thing. So I think you want to respect that a little bit at that 550 level.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, I mean, position board, you said it's not Fahad's fault. It's always Fahad's fault.
Everything is Fahad's fault.
It's always his fault. I don't know what he's doing. He said he could have fixed it in 5 minutes. I'm sure if we asked him, hey, Fahad, can you fix this? Yeah, I can do it in 5 minutes. He just doesn't want to. So we're just going to blame it all on him here as the futures market making a late move, maybe back towards 80s. Remember, imbalance is coming out soon. We're at 77.5. We were sitting in the 74, 75 area. Maybe we get going to the upside here and close out strong to end the consolidation that has been. Actually, let me pull this out. When did this start? The top, it wasn't even noon, Neil. It was 11 a.m.
That's ridiculous.
11 a.m. roughly when we stalled out around 80, and we put in the low here at about 1205, which is around 71. Okay, that's a lie. But 70 to 80, we've been there since about 11 a.m. So that's the kind of day we've had here. So the exciting things that are Kala and Hoth and TGTX, well, Kala being the one that's a late mover right now. This is what we got to do when the markets are quiet. Sharif.
Last thing coming in here, guys, on Summit is on the 21st, going back a ways, basically announcing that they have an offering of subscription rights to purchase up to 476.2 million shares of common stock at the initial price, and that was filed with the SEC. But as you mentioned, Neil, this has been a multi-day runner. It's just a continuation.
Exactly. And look, Brendan's not here right now, but you're not skipping a beat with Sharif in there. Arun's dropping science for Shawn. You got stocks moving all over the place. Take 2 seconds. If you enjoy what you're seeing here, just hit the like. I promise you, not only will it make you feel better, but it'll magically not make me as hungry as I am right now after getting 5 disgusting, well, not disgusting, but not great fries. I just need to pick me up. It's about paying it forward. The reason we do this show for free every single day, truth be told, this started out as a training program internally for other offices, and it was just about taking the experience that we had, putting us in front of a camera and talking about the markets. Once we realized that, like, how valuable it was at the time, we're like, let's just put it out there. And it ends up being something where we've created a great community where we all get to learn, we all get better, we can all enjoy this, and that all we ask is that you pay it forward. I'm not saying go ahead and take my trades. As a matter of fact, we'll take ones out there that fits my risk parameters, and if it doesn't fit yours, I'd suggest you almost don't do it. Because if you're not willing to risk on some of these, or you don't want to pay for the locates on a college short at 30, don't get any FOMO, man. Like, if you can't get locates or they're too expensive for you, you don't make this trade. If you can't handle the risk of the stock, you don't make that one. Then you go to scout mode and you do something that fits you on Shawn style or on Luca's style. Or if you want to learn how to trade the futures, you talk to Arun. You want to trade oil, you talk to Arun. That's what it's all about here. And that's how our floor works, learning from each other. And that's how we hope our community is going to be able to learn from each other as well. Imbalances in 30 seconds. I'm just going to get out of the last of my Mullen here because here's what's happening to Mullen. It did break 26, couldn't get to 27, so lower highs being put in. I'm just going to get out in front of the imbalances. It was a decent trade the second time through. CCL, I've tightened my stop. I don't want to have this break all the way back and down into $8 on me, so I have tightened my stop to break even. Once you're at, maybe I'll give it a penny. Once you're past 805, I'm going to be out of CCL. It's not going anywhere. And with the imbalances looming, Cala's worth holding.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because if it goes down, I think we're seeing like 22 or 23.
Yeah, I say the under is going to be 24.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think 24 has got to be at least the bottom end.
Oh, imbalances out.
Yeah,
You got it?
imbalances
Oh,
out.
you got it.
I've got them up. Open table.
Open.
Yeah, that's got to be some indexing action. That's unusually large. 5.7 million shares on open. Let's see what the action is here. It is open table, right? Open door. It's not even open. Okay, it's not open table. TBLE, I believe, is open table. Open is open door. Okay, I don't even know what open table is. Anyways, I'm getting that wrong. Anyways, open door. It's a 20 million shares on the day. It's got a 5.5 million share imbalance, and this is what the book looks like. So I don't think this is going to do anything. This is way too big of a book. What are we looking at here? This is north
What is that,
of
like 100,000 on the bid?
no, yeah, on one on ECN. So I got 100,000 on ARCA, then I got another 60, 70,000 on NASDAQ, 30 on BATS. We're looking at like 400,000 on one side. And this is the buy side too. So I'm looking at the offer. So I don't think this is going to move too much. Obviously, they popped initially from 114 to 116 when the initial imbalance came out. But at this point, I have zero faith that this is going to stick around. ELAN, let's take a quick look at that. That's the next one at 2.6 on the buy side. What do we got? Oh, it's not a NASDAQ name. It's a New York name. Okay, 2.6, done 3.7 on the day. Falling off, though. This is interesting. This one I would pay attention to. Let's just make sure that there's no indexing action on this here. Elanco Animal Health. Okay, let me see if there's any indexing action here. So while this market is coming off down. Remember, 350.
Oh, buy side imbalance.
What's that? 350 comes off.
Yep.
350 is the first imbalance, right? Imbalance release. And then the second one is going to be 355 when the floor interest gets added to that imbalance book. And that's the one that really matters. Because if these imbalances stick around, and I'm going to ignore open table because it's not going to make a difference, but if ELAN sticks around after 355, now I suspect with the amount of selling that's going on, there's a lot of suspicion on whether this is going to stick around or not. But if it does stick around after the floor brokers provide their interest in the name, you're going to see ELAN make a move. And now it was at its highs around 1220, 1222, and we've fallen off a few cents. With the imbalance of 2.6 million on a stock that's done 3.8, this cannot stick around. If they're going to try to figure out a way to be smart about this cannot stick around. This needs to come off a little bit, because if it does stick around, this stock's going to react to this. This is way too big of an imbalance for a stock like this. So we're going to see at 355 how this holds up.
You know what's crazy? Remember when Sharif brought us that news on Tesla, that news story? I got stopped out the exact moment that news story came out on Tesla. That was at 120. It has not looked back. You're at 122 on Tesla. You're up 8% now on the session. That's crazy. I can't believe I was long at 118 this morning. Oh, that's not going to age well, Neil. But wow, what an unbelievable move. That's why you get the heck out of Dodge. I didn't know there was a news story. My stop was at 120 anyway, so it just happens that the news came out and ran the stops. But that's what you get. You get a big change in sentiment. The news was delivered to us. And guess what? After that, even after the news was out, it consolidated and then broke higher. So you had a chance to take a long break consolidation at about 327 when the market was doing nothing after Sharif brought us that news story on Tesla. I love to see that. The position board keeps going away here, but I'm still in the 29.90 on Kala, and I'm going to give it to the end of the day. Obviously, you guys know as day traders, we have to be flat, no positions at the end of the day. So it's not like I'm not holding this overnight. I almost said over the weekend. I'm not holding this overnight or anything like that. But I just feel if it breaks 26, I have tightened my stop because there's only 5 minutes left, and I'm not going to let it run the high of the day with this little time. If it breaks 26, I'll tighten the stop again. I'm looking for 23s, if not something around that 24. If it slips, then we get the bigger win. The long was great. Let's see if the short can't do the same thing for us.
Yeah, we're getting closer to that update at 3:55, which is going to be an important one. ELAN still here. Buy side 2.67, and it's still selling off. So as we get closer and closer, I'll get back to the full list as well, but I really want to keep an eye on ELAN just because of how much this one actually matters. This one needs to get much, much smaller for this to be a balanced book as we get into the end of the day. So for now, we've got about 5 seconds. Let's see what this update is. Is this going to stick around 2.6? This should get much smaller, or no, it's stuck around 2.4.
That's ELAN.
That's suspicious because this stock barely reacted to it. Now it goes a couple pennies, but that's not much of a reaction for a stock that's half of the day's volume is in an imbalance. Okay, we're going to have to keep an eye on this. We'll come back to this, but what's the largest number after? ELAN still there. You got Citigroup jumping on board with 1.5 to the buy side, SUNL sell side 1.4, I guess 1.5 almost, and then you got a bunch of no names here coming through the bottom. So ELAN still on deck. I'm not seeing any index action, so it does seem like this is kind of its own thing. It's a weird day to do it though, because it's the day before the end of the month, and they didn't do it on the index.
Maybe there's something happening with that tomorrow. That's my
maybe. I didn't see anything though.
Oh, you're not. I don't know if you're not in tomorrow, but tomorrow I want to make sure I'm paying attention, because if I see that ELAN with an index action tomorrow, I think there'll be something there. I do still have a couple of positions on, one of which I'm just gonna get out flat. CCL is not going. I do want to hold on to Kala here. There's only 4 minutes to go in the rest of the session. Second last session of the year. It's been a good ride. Thank you guys so much. Obviously, we got to 1.1K likes. I think we could do a heck of a lot better than that. It's been a fantastic show. Someone just said Hoth is still going. I forgot all about Hoth this afternoon. 140% on this thing. I was shorting this one after the halt to the upside. So you know what? What a great leg off that $9 level. Because the last short I had was 10 to 9. It was like 11 to 10. Or sorry, it was 9. It was 10.50 to 9.50. Then it was 10 to 9. And when that stopped out, it's actually held 9 the entire time and been a scalp long. So, you know, this is actually boding well for it to make another run. Like, if you think there's what's the next one that goes parabolic, well, given the fact that it's already holding higher lows on the first day after a series of halts to the upside, this could be in play tomorrow for a secondary push. I love the fact that it held at 9 even. If it can hold that tomorrow morning, I think it's got a great chance. Like, remember Kala, with only 3 minutes to go here, remember Kala, look what it did. When it made its initial breaks, it ended up holding consolidation, broke. You get another hold, consolidation, break. When it gapped up and did the bigger move, and it dipped this morning, it never got back that previous resistance at 12 even, which is a lot of times where you want to look for some longs up there. Congrats to anybody that this is where you should be long. 16 was there for you. 17 was there for you too when we're looking at this. We'll be honest with ourselves. You could have been long this at 17 bucks with a dollar stop. There's no question about that. With 2 minutes to go, I'm stink facing it because I'm like, why weren't we long 17 with a 16 stop? Arun reminded me of why we didn't take that trade, because the more I look at it, hindsight's 20/20, man. But
I mean, I had 16s and I still lost. So
well, no, we both lost this morning. I was long 18.20 and lost about 80 pennies on that this morning. It looks stupid now, but yeah, I mean, that's what happens. Here comes to the downside. So
you're getting
with 2 minutes to go,
for sure.
I don't want to just sit on the bid.
No.
What I'm going to do is tighten my stop. But when it breaks this, I'm going to trail this to 26, and I'm going to hold as close to the close as I can.
You should do throw in some random price below 24, because you know they're going to swipe once the 24 even breaks.
Yeah, just go like 23.
And they'll just fill you right on that cross, and then it snaps back up.
23.42. Okay. My baseball number was 42. If you can't figure out why I wore 42 in my men's league, then we can't talk. But
I'll need to learn baseball history.
Well, I'm sure everyone probably knows exactly, but that was the only number I ever wanted to wear. Did you say Babe Ruth?
Oh my God. No, we're going to ignore him. ELAN is still there and is still moving around. So 2.4 million shares is still in the buy and still moving down. This cannot stick around, I suspect, as we get into the final minute of the day.
Come on, get down.
Guys, one thing I will say, there's that hot chip challenge, the Packy hot chip challenge that they want to do. Hopefully we can get that the like count up. We can get that like count up. If you can get the like count up, I really want to see Fahad's face with this.
Well, first of all, it's really easy for you to pump the likes about the hot chip challenge when you're not the one that has to do it.
No, absolutely not. I would never do that because
so that's why you're pumping it all the time. I'm like, you notice how I don't say it every single day?
But,
because, by the way, 25 not holding. Excuse me, 40 seconds to go. I'm just going to get out of this one in front of 25. We have to be flat at the end of the day. We'll go ahead and take almost $5 on that winner. The long was better, but we definitely got that short in. So with 10 seconds, I'm dropping the countdown on. We got a special guest ringing the bell here today.
3.
There we go. One of our fans from Boston. From Boston, Beantown, 2 and 1. Ring it.
There you go. I like that.
So there we
slow move
go.
up.
We're very fortunate. I'm scrambling to get out of a trade there, like in the last couple of seconds. But thank you so much. It's been a while. You know what? I have to cancel some orders. Give me a couple seconds here. I just realized I have stop orders still out there that I want to cancel.
All right, while he's doing that, I'm going to go back.
orders.
Guys, hit the like. Well, not today necessarily, but tomorrow morning. This is going to be my last appearance on desk here. But tomorrow, when you guys are back watching, tell everybody. Bring them all on the morning show. It's going to be Ian and Neil as Shawn's off. And hit the likes. Remember, we need to get to 5K likes. So if you can get everybody, call whoever you know, just get them on YouTube, and then get the likes up. 5K gets Fahad eating a hot chip, and you know everybody wants to see that. Yeah, Neil's got to do it too, unfortunately, but we really want to see Fahad suffer a little bit.
So this is on me because I mean Jen just had a moment. One of our viewers coming up from Boston. I think you said you had family here. I believe is okay. So visiting family, and I was about to launch into this, thanking for her to ring the bell, and I had like 3 stop orders still out there that can still trigger in the aftermarket. So I had to go ahead and cancel those. And believe me when I tell you this, we had a trader. And I'm not going to say his name or anything, but he left a stop order out there in the futures. And then all of a sudden, it's like, ho-hum, and it triggers, and we're like, dude, you were in position after 4 o'clock. And he's like, huh? What are you talking about?
Sounds a lot like me, but wasn't
No, it wasn't.
It sounds like something I would do, but at the same time, I usually check my orders before I log out.
Which is exactly what I was doing there. So if you saw me kind of scramble over, it's because I had like 3 stop orders. I didn't want anything bad to happen. Let's see how the market finished up there, Sharif.
You had everything today, Neil, and everything in between as well. Great day on the market so far if you're long, obviously. S&P 500 closing up 1.6%, but the NASDAQ, the heavyweight, the tech heavyweight, 2.4%, just shy of 2.5%. You had Dow 1% up, lagging a little bit. Toronto positive as well. Brazil and crude not faring as well, and a relief day a little bit for Bitcoin as we saw some selling coming earlier, guys. So a decent day on the market. I know you guys had a whole bunch of trades. We talked about Tesla, we talked about the big cappers, and we talked about the small cappers. How'd you guys finish up today, guys?
Like, I'm just happy Kala was like the first trade that was put on in the show today. We had this on the watch list yesterday. We had it on the watch list again today because we thought it could be a good mover. Didn't capture any of those longs. We were able to get it here today. But I will say the big winner today isn't necessarily the longs. The market was great. Kala was good. The real winner is Elon Musk because Elon is now 8% richer. I'm saying Elon because Sharif. I mean, that's what he says. He says Elon, and he can say whatever he wants.
He can.
But Elon is 8% richer today, and congratulations to him. You had the story when it broke. Tesla was $2 clean after you broke that story. So we're not missing a beat without Brendan. I'm getting you guys my earpiece here. I just want to say we got a couple of trading days left in the year for the entire team. Fahad's been putting in work, switching by himself. Liz has been helping out as well. Prad's come back with an absolute vengeance. Great job by Luca today. Obviously, we wish Shawn the best. He'll be back in the new year. Arun, you're doing a great job filling in here. Sharif, I really can't say enough of how well you've done in the Paisley shirt there. Not many people could pull that off. I know I couldn't.
That's real fly. I got to respect that.
That is super fly.
That is super fly.
That is super fly. So thank everybody for that. Thank you, Jen, for ringing the bell here today. We'll get to say hi to you in a quick second. We are TraderTV Live. I'm Neil. That's who I am. We're going to see you guys tomorrow for the final trading day of the year. hopefully we see as much fire as we did today. See you tomorrow, guys.
Have a good night, guys.